What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I'm here with Silver and Abzy and Johnny for the Reg Isn't Here special edition of the podcast. Sorry about that. I went live and did a full intro and then realized we technically weren't live at all. But we're live
actually
now.
Live this time?
We're fully live now. Yeah, we're fully live. So thank you very much for showing up. I apologize for that little brief. You know what? I don't apologize. It's pretty much expected for this podcast. Something technically is going to go on. I need one of these days. I'm going to get a podcast, a PC, where it's just for that, where it's not for like everything else, so I don't have to switch all this shit back and forth and back and forth.
Dude, we had no intro today. It's insane.
Quick beginning today. This is something else I'm looking at is like, the beginning causes many more people to come to the podcast when you have a long beginning. But then once it's running, you get a huge drop off, and then the algorithm thinks that people are leaving when they're not. They're leaving because they don't want to watch the music, or they think it's something else and they don't stick around. You can't win. You can't win. That's basically what it is. You can't win. But you guys have won. You've won your Friday by showing up. I appreciate it. We've got actually news today. I didn't think we had news, but I started looking. There's actually some cool stuff. Callisto Protocol.
I didn't find much.
Yeah, Callisto Protocol talked about up-close combat. Over one half of the game is going to be up-close combat. They talked about their design decisions, how they're going about that, so we'll discuss that. Halo is looking at adding true microtransactions to Halo Infinite. We'll read a little bit about their discussion, discuss why exactly they're doing it that way, what their thought process is. I think overall it's a bad idea, but we'll sort of jump in there. We'll see if it's a bad idea or not. From Software has announced that they are pretty much at the end of the development for their other title, which is not, anything that we've really heard about from what I understand. But their other title is now coming up at the end. So it'll be interesting to see what that is. And we're going to talk about our ideas. We're going to talk about our hopes and dreams, what could possibly be. Detective Seeds, $20 super chat. Just wanted to share some glitter-covered cash. Say have a great weekend. Thank you very much for showing up. Appreciate it. Then we have, let's see, what else do I have here? From Software, gaining traction. Oh, I put some other news. Looks like Corey Balrog is hinting about God of War for sure coming. He had some little
Balrog,
yeah, whatever. Balrog. He had a bunch of little like tweets and stuff hinting that that game is coming for sure, which I think has been a question mark in everybody's mind. Like, are we for sure getting it? Are we not getting? I've always thought that we weren't, and then I changed to we were. And now I think I changed back to we weren't for a short amount of time, and now I think we are. I'm getting God of War Ragnarok. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
Like, they don't show it, but then he jokes around, and I think he's adult enough. I mean, he may joke, but I just don't think he's going to do those kind of things or allow those kind of jokes to go out unless,
I just hope they didn't rush it or something, But obviously, it's not going to get as much traction or hype as the other one, because it's not like the other one was something new. This is just like more of the same, but like better probably or something.
Well, we don't know. That's another thing, Abzy. We don't know, right? We haven't even seen... have we seen... We did see some footage, I guess. Yeah, true. Yeah, true.
I mean, there's some cool new moves and stuff, but like the difference between God of War 3 and 4 is
right. When you change the entire way everything's going together. What's up, Palpy, Shane, PL, Doom Reaper, Isildur? That almost looks like something from Lord of the Rings.
Some Lord of the Rings.
Little accent there.
Doom Reaper, TB, Beast by Nature, Rue, Mr. Agent, VA, Poth is back. What's up, Poth? Bioba, Johnny's in here. Johnny's also in here. The inception of podcasts. Johnny's here while also in here. Cowboy, Rogerio, praise the sun. What's up, dude? Doom Knocker, Chess Playas, and we'll just call you Herb because that's a long name. All right, let's go. Go ahead.
They think Armored Core is the game. Actually, they hinted at that.
Necro's brought that up a couple times too. It could be. I mean, I'm going to be honest, man. Armored Core is so old. I don't even...
It is.
Like, mech game, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much... Yeah. That's my knowledge.
It's different than their dark fantasy.
Oh, yeah, that was way back.
Yeah, that one is like hyper... Yeah, I want them to bring back Tenchu, to be honest. Well, I guess we got Sekiro, so that would be redundant, but...
Well, I see what you're saying.
I don't.
You don't what?
See it with Tenchu and Sekiro, I guess.
Oh, I just like ninja walking on rooftops.
Well,
obviously it's very different. Yeah.
There's some overlap there though. Yeah,
Mhm.
hopefully. I mean, especially with them, would they do a mech Dark Souls? That could be pretty cool.
Like the Surge, but
Like the Surge, but with, you know, mechs and guns. Like, I don't know. Would Armored Core then go completely away from the Dark Souls entire? Like, would
I
that
mean,
be
for the
weird to
past-
people who've been so accustomed to Dark Souls?
yeah, for the past like 10, 12 years, they've been just doing their Dark Souls from, like, if you play a From game, it's like, okay, this is a From game. Bloodborne, Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Sekiro, they all have like the similar thing to it. So they do Armored Core and it's like a completely different fucking thing. It's gonna be weird. It's
Might
gonna be
be
interesting.
more of a Macross type thing.
Yeah.
Armored Core, they do.
Maybe they just go completely balls, and that's the game that like doesn't have any Dark Souls stuff. You know, maybe that's the game where it's just completely over the top anarchy and chaos and mechs, and I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
You know, have one group that does your thing, and
I love when companies just do different things.
oh yeah,
Like,
for sure.
you know
I'm
what I mean?
okay with that.
Try out different shit.
Yeah, we don't need them to fit every. I mean, technically, at that point, you're getting the complaint about Ubisoft, where everything, even though Assassin's Creed and Far Cry aren't the same, it's the camera that feels different, and a lot of the other stuff feels the same. Like that kind of stuff would pop up. So yeah, let them do it. Let them jump out there. What's new with Callisto Protocol? Actually, a lot of stuff. We'll talk about it in a second. But let's first discuss how awesome it is for you guys to show up. If you get a chance next week, I believe it'll be Tuesday, probably 11 or 10:30. I'll be streaming. Carnage will be streaming the stream to his channel, and then later I'll upload it here. So if you guys aren't available to watch the stream, that's fine. But Carnage and I are going to sit down for a discussion about life and the differences between Twitter and YouTube. But we'll also probably just go completely nuts, because neither one, it seems like, as much as I talk to him, neither one of us can keep on track for very long. Like we start bouncing off on different topics and stuff like that. So it's more along the lines of just two people getting together and talking about games for the last couple years. What he's done, what I've done. I didn't realize I've been here for like 6 or 7 years. It feels like 3. And he's been there for that longer. So we're just going to get together. So if you guys get a chance, check it out on his channel, streaming. Like I said, Tuesday, I think 10:30, 11 is what we figured out. And then I'll do the VOD. Sublime 93 $10 super chat. Favorite gaming experience? ? Could be the game itself or because of sentimental reasons. People in the chat are free to answer that as well. So what's a favorite gaming experience? See, here's the thing. I don't want to do favorite, because then we'll be like, maybe this, maybe that. Let's just do what's a favorite gaming experience that pops up in your head. What's like one of the best gaming experience?
Elden Ring. I would say Elden Ring is probably my favorite gaming experience up to date. Yeah.
I mean, but what's the experience? You mean the entire thing,
just
or
the
what?
exploration, or you know what I loved about Breath of the Wild? Obviously, Breath of the Wild had its shortcomings and stuff, but like the you know, plopping you in a map, or like Morrowind, and then just being like, go figure out yourself. I like that type of shit, and Elden Ring did it on a large scale with very interesting things to find. So
Mhm.
discovery to me is like the biggest dopamine, where my game doesn't tell you where to go, but you discover stuff. So yeah, that's probably why.
Somebody said the Sovereign reveal in Mass Effect. I would say that was.
Oh, that's
that
a good one. The speech.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, dude, that was pretty sweet. Johnny, what about you?
I always think back to I was very young, like 14 maybe, and I was playing with a friend, Dino Crisis.
Mm-hmm.
I was playing the game, and he was looking at like a guide, and we were for some reason that was so cool to me. You know, he was kind of like co-piloting, right? He was
Right.
you know, he was like guiding me and stuff like that. We were playing through that like scared, because it was one of our first games, and for some reason that experience stuck with me and was one of the things that really got me into gaming.
That together experience is awesome. What about you, Silver?
Maybe Silent Hunter 3. I remember like a particular patrol in that game. Like there were a lot of emergent narrative stories in that game, but like a particular patrol where I got a grid in the Atlantic Ocean that I had to patrol, and I got there. It was fairly uneventful. Like the map in Silent Hunter 3 was massive. I don't know that it was 1-to-1 scale, but if you sailed it in real time, it would take you actual days to like reach the Atlantic. You had to like speed it up. And so I just sailed in the grid for like a couple of days, didn't really get any contacts, and then all of a sudden, like my hydrophone operator calls out a contact, and I go to the hydrophone. I listen for like 5 minutes or so trying to find the sound, and then there's like just the sound of screws churning in the water, very, very, very distant, very, very far away. And so I sort of estimate a coast that they're sailing towards England, and I try and calculate like an intercept course using the navigational charts in the U-boat, and I eventually reach it, and I managed to actually intercept the convoy and caught in front of it. And so I set an ambush. I sink like 4 or 5 ships, after which I dive down and they carpet bomb the entire place with depth charges, the destroyers overhead, as I try and get away. Really, really hectic, really, really intense, really, really tense, especially as you're diving, and the the sound in that game as the hull starts creaking, and you feel the pressure of the depth as you delve deeper and deeper. Then going home and thinking, oh, everything's hunky-dory, everything's great, but I still have, I've used all my torpedoes, but I still have like ammunition for my deck gun. So if I like run into another merchant ship or something, maybe I can sink that with my deck gun. And so I have keep an eye out for ships, and I see one in the distance, and we start approaching, and then all of a sudden there are like 2 flashes, and I just my immediate reaction is, oh shit. Then there's a splash of water because it's a shell. It's a destroyer coming at us, and then they score a direct hit on us, and the sub starts going down, and then we start having to pump out water and stuff. And eventually we actually survive and manage to repair the boat, and then limp back to harbor in Germany, where there's like a marching band playing as we get into harbor, throwing roses into the water and stuff. That's one of the defining moments for me that probably stands out in my memory.
Very cool.
What about you, Karak?
Oh yeah. Oh God, I forgot.
I do need to change my answer as well, because these are very specific, and I just gave you like my favorite game.
Yeah. Right now I don't have one. What? Go ahead. What was yours, Absy?
Probably Fallout 3 back in, I was in like grade 8 or 9 at the time, and I was like just getting into like RPGs, and Fallout 3, when it presented me with the choice of like blowing up Megaton or not, I was like, holy shit. And like going up to the hotel and seeing it all happen, I'm like, holy shit, I impacted the game world this much. It was crazy to me. And from that game, I got infatuated with like nuclear stuff and Fallouts, and I wrote like an essay about the fallout of Hiroshima and Nagasaki because of it. I was infatuated with 50s music for like the remainder of my high school. I was just like all into Fallout, man. Yeah.
That's cool when it makes like good effects outside. I guess at the same time, when we always say, and I don't want to get in this argument, but you know, sometimes you hear people say that violent games don't make people violent. It's like, okay, I get that, but at the same time, it did cause you to listen to 1950s music a bunch. Yeah. So there are effects. You know, there's a resonance that can happen when you're into something, and maybe somebody isn't mentally prepared for that.
Like educationally, I looked into like actual, you know, real life events with nuclear bombs.
Yeah, right. Right. Get you interested in like where their alternate story branches off. That's definitely something I did with Fallout 3 as well.
Yeah,
I don't have one.
It caused me to approach games and like life in general in a different way. Sorry, continue.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah. I've got a wicked migraine. I especially for me, I don't really have one because I am the host for almost everything we do game wise. So at some point, it's like thousands upon thousands get over the top of one another. So there isn't really anything that I remember more like us talking after a game, which I'm not saying that can't be your favorite part of a game, but I'm just saying ours is a little different because I don't really have, I mean, I went to other people's places or I played a game on my own. But I mean, Mass Effect definitely resonates in weird ways with me though. Cause I certainly remember listening to the title for, you know, well over 30 minutes before starting the game because I like the title screen music so much. Because I had waited so long for that game that I'm not a don't start. In fact, I'm a leap in when I get it. But for whatever reason, I was like, I just gotta I just have to sit there and savor it. Yeah, and then finally hit the button and have it be like, bling, and move me forward. It was a great time. We do want to skew a positive on this podcast as well. One of the things that, like, we talk about it all the time, but you know, I can do negative in the reviews. I can do negative in podcasts as well. But for the most part, we do want to steer positive on the podcast. So just be aware, we're not really talking about world events and stuff like that. if people want to bring it
Yeah,
up. We're not like,
going on.
yeah, I'd rather talk about games.
Mm.
CJB Rare, $5. Been playing Final Fantasy VII Remake since the Steam version came out, and gotta say, modding in an FOV slider and ultra wide is such a difference. Very cool. I didn't even think of those mods, but obviously, well, and they probably had them for the Epic Store version as well. I hadn't even thought about that. Ultra wide mod I can get, FOV slider. Re, I'm just gonna call you Re. How does that handle the viewpoint though? Does it put black bars somewhere? Or does it do, because it can't do a full, I mean, maybe they do a full resolution scale on the mod. I don't know, but I'd like to know how that looks when you do blow it super wide, how that actually ends up looking. I remember just sitting on the Deus Ex OG menu. Oh, yeah. Dude, the menu music for Deus Ex 1.
Yeah.
Sweet. God, you know, there was a game where the main menu, I wanted to tell you guys about this. The main menu. Oh, Deus Ex Mankind Divided is the same way. I have it on my Alexa, and when I say like play it, it almost always starts with the main theme, and I gotta say that's a fucking banging theme, man. Like a main track is like harder than I expected, and then I went back and listened to Deus Ex Original. It's also harder. It's very like, I don't know how to describe it. That's it's a harder soundtrack.
Industrial.
Yeah, industrial would be the yeah. It's which surprised me. I guess in my brain originally, when sometimes I think about it, I think more like a softer, like a synth, but it's not. It's like it's banging. The main menu music for Human Revolution Mankind Divided is amazing. Also, Facundo says, I like Human Revolution's music a lot. That's one I can't remember. I'll have to throw it up there and listen to it. I can't remember.
I don't remember either, sadly.
Yeah.
Mankind Divided or Human Revolution.
Is anybody getting Final Fantasy VII Remake Steam version in here?
Maybe on sale later down the road.
Yeah, probably.
But
Probably on sale.
not any time soon. No.
Yeah, I don't like the lack of options. It just has like low, mid, high. You know, it's really lacking in the options, and it has stutter. It doesn't even have like a VSync setting.
The PC version of Final Fantasy VII?
PC version.
Oh, is it the
And
same as the Epic version that they released?
Yeah, it's the
shit
same
port?
version.
Oh, damn. I thought.
Yeah, and they haven't fixed that, you know, in all this time. So that's my issue.
Case B says The Outer World does have very good music. Oh, you're absolutely
Yes.
right, man.
It's like
The Outer
Stargate
World,
SG-1.
dude, Justin.
Yeah,
I just talked to him
Justin.
today, trying to get him back on the podcast. Justin is awesome. Hopefully we can get him back on because he did Outer Worlds with Eliza Chuck. And dude's awesome. ISO Motion Gaming, $5 super chat. ACG, #1 most trustworthy reviewer on YouTube. I appreciate being real and honest. Have a wonderful Friday, everyone. Thank you very much. Hopefully you do as well. I want to talk about Callisto Protocol. So if you guys saw, the developer did, one of the leads did a bunch of different... He did one interview, then that got cut up by everybody else, you know, for their own hits. So it was actually difficult to find out who it was. But I found out who did the original, which was Game Informer. I should have assumed that because Game Informer and IGN are both doing a lot of the we're first kind of stuff. And so I found them. They did an interview. There's a bunch of talking about what was going on in Callisto Protocol. And one of the first things that stuck out in my mind, because it reminds me of Condemned on the 360, is they said more than 50% of it is going to be melee combat. Is going to be up melee, depending on where you're from.
Whoa.
Melee combat. And I got to say, that changed my entire opinion of what I was thinking that game would be, because right now I'm doing a video on recoil and good effects on guns, where Callisto Protocol directly has an example of very good recoil. Also, because that character isn't a Marine. He doesn't know how to hold a gun, so obviously recoil will be worse. But $5 super chat real quick. Richard Doyle, the show has been a consistent highlight over the years, and it's hard not to imagine a better time for games right now. Keep up the awesome work. Thank you very much, Mr. Doyle. I don't want to call you Mr. Doyle if you don't like it, but I'm gonna. I don't know about you guys. What do you think about over one half being up close, hand, toe, hand?
I mean,
hand, toe, hand.
It's a weird thing to throw out. It's like over half the game is going to be melee, but from my understanding of it, which I hope is the case, is this is a survival horror shooter, whatever. Ammo is going to be scarce. You're going to want to rely on melee a lot because you don't want to spend a lot of ammo, only using ammo when necessary. And I like that. Other than that, it's like saying over 50%, it's like it makes you think, well, what if it's like, scripted segments where it's like, okay, you're not going to have a weapon for a long time, or or something, which I don't think it's the case.
I don't think it's the case, but I get what you're saying.
You know, scarce ammo and stuff, which I do enjoy in games like that. Yeah.
Dodge system, Steve says, real quick, Silver, I just want to read this because it's data. Steve says the dodge system is attached to the left stick as well, so there must be some kind of juke. What were you going to say, Silver? Sorry.
Just, I think it makes sense for the setting as well. It's a prison, right?
Yeah, or a colony, or yeah, it's one, but it's not a military base. We'll just say that, right?
No, yeah. But, I mean, it looked like a prison to me, and like you were like an inmate or something.
Yeah,
as the main character.
So the idea of not having weapons makes sense.
Yeah, to me it does, and having it more melee focused. Yeah.
Johnny, any thoughts on Callisto Protocol and going 50%?
Yeah, my thoughts are that I think that being close up is a lot more intense oftentimes. If you think about, for example, okay, let's use Dark Souls as an example. You can choose to play it melee, where you're right up there against the bosses, right? And like the feeling of that is quite intense because, you know, it seems very high stakes. You're right up there with the enemy versus if you're like shooting from a distance. So I always think that if you don't have a ranged weapon and you do have to get close, it can be a bit more intense, and they have this horror thing they're doing. So I think it could work fine.
And you have like telekinetic powers or something, right? You have like, oh yeah, the melee looks good. You have like powers as well, right? In the game, didn't they show that? Whereas he was telekinetically moving objects.
That's
or am
funny.
I thinking
I don't
of a
remember
completely
that.
different game?
I don't remember that.
I could have sworn.
But I was going to bring up about this. So people are talking about some of the stuff that they heard as well. So with Callisto, I'm going to mispronounce that a lot, just so everybody knows. But with this game, it reminds me of Condemned. Condemned 1 and 2 were great games that I didn't like, but I knew that they were good. And I didn't like them probably because up-close combat has to be perfect for me to like it. I mean, perfect. Like
they also had they had brilliant sound, those two games.
It can't good. It can't be it really has to be perfect because either I get sick when they're doing it and they have too much camera angle, or the FOV is wrong, or it doesn't feel like you hit. Vermintide's one of the few games that I think most people agree has really good first-person combat. And then, of course, Dark Messiah of Might and Magic. There's a couple others. I'm excited for it. They also said that they spent hours like deciding how gory it was going to be. They want one of the most gory games possible, which I get that. I don't necessarily know why they were talking about this, but I do know Game Informer has the quick questions thing, and so maybe they were just like, here's what we're doing, blah, blah, blah. I don't really need to know that ahead of time. In fact, I don't know if I want to know it, because I think that there's a chance of some gamers who might get squeamish not wanting to sit through it. Because they'll be like, oh man, this might be, and instead it's like, I don't know if that much data is needed. We'll just have to see how the game comes out. I already saw enough in the trailer to know there's going to be some weird shit. Because they smashed the guy right up in the face. They had the big eyeball opening up. They had all these different things.
Dead Space was pretty gory as well.
Dead Space was pretty gory. Yeah, and Condemned was pretty. All the first-person games are pretty gory, I guess, like in and of themselves.
The eye gouging scene in like Dead Space 2.
Yeah, right. Poth says I sound like I ate a lot of ice cream. I have no clue what that means, but thank you very much. Phlegmy, I assume. So thanks for pointing that out. When you look at all these games, you look at Condemned. You look at, even Thief had up close, but Thief, you get your ass kicked, right? Pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Overall, I think that, it raises tension. What I don't want, guys, and what I didn't want, what this worries me about is, man, I'm going to tell you right now, if it's a horror game and they fucking mix in inventory, I'm going to be really pissed. Because I don't like inventory games. I don't like it. I don't find it fun. At all. I fucking hate it. I hate everything about having
I like those in survival
to
horror.
bound. I despise it. Like, in fact, when it's there, I'm almost always like, it's not going to be as fun. I'm going to spend time. Because here's the thing. If they do it real, I would be okay. Front pocket, back pocket. Okay, I can deal with that. But when they pretend like your fucking pockets are a box of Jenga, and you're like
Tetris,
and you're moving a sniper rifle, which also takes the place of 3 bottles of pills. You're like, seriously, you're trying to be realistic, but you're making it even stupider. So as long as they handle that inventory in some way that's intelligent, I'll be fine. I just got really nervous when they were starting to talk about this, because I'm like, man, I don't want to be opening my trench coat like Alone in the Dark 4 or whatever. Where you're like,
Oh my God, Alone in the Dark.
Remember that one? Where,
Yeah.
dude, that game looked like it was going to be awesome too. Alone in
was
the
for
Dark
the first
prior to it
half.
coming out. Yeah, true.
Like the
True.
first half was good, but then they got lazy in the second half, and you had to find like 8 snakes in a mall or something.
I'm sure everybody else likes inventory. I'm like, when it comes to horror games, I do happen to be a little bit on the opposite side of everybody else. I don't get as scared. I don't like inventory, and I think those are two things people who like horror probably do. They probably do like inventory, and I just want a more realistic inventory.
I completely understand that. Sadly, I would expect it to be in line with the Jenga.
Yeah, so would I. Yeah, so would I.
That's I mean, that's been the standard.
Yeah,
that's been
Or it might just be like Dead Space.
that was what Visceral did as well back then. So
yeah, what was Dead Space? You said something, Mabsy. What'd you say?
Did Dead Space have inventory management, or was it just like you have? It did. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just making sure
I
that
would
there
imagine it would have like 8 slots, squares, and
I remember like having to like slot in med packs and stuff.
By the way, I'm not talking about bullets. I have no issues with
Right.
counting bullets. I'm talking about when you have like a fucking thing of pills. You've got
Right.
a crowbar. You're just like, okay,
fucking in
seriously.
Resident Evil 1, you so key items would take a place in order to save the game. Those films would take a spot.
Oh, yeah, I remember.
Fucking, to kill a zombie, you needed a gun, so that would take up a slot, and then you needed oil, which would take up a slot, and then something to light it with, which would take up a slot. So it's like in Resi 1, you're like always bouncing around.
Sean M says, I certainly don't mind melee combat in horror games, but the claim that only half the game has ammo-based weapons has me a bit worried. No. It's not what he says. That's not what he says. See, this is the problem when somebody says something and it's like a game of telephone. Where like by the time we're done, I'm getting an error about encoding again. But so they said that over 50% of like the combat is up close. I don't think they said anything about the starting of it having no gun. Absy brought that up as a suggestion what this might be. So anybody listening, please don't say
like
we said that.
When people quantify things like that. Oh, 500 hours to beat the game. Oh, over 50% of this is going to be that.
No, you're right. It's a bad idea.
Right?
It makes you overthink
it. Makes you overthink.
I don't like it because I don't want to know. I don't like to know how many chapters there are in the game. I don't like to know how many episodes there are in the season. How many?
Yeah.
I don't like being quantified where it's like, okay, I know I'm going into this and like 50%. Like I just like to play things out naturally, you know. So I don't, man. A lot of these, like even Game Informer does that a lot. Like when they were previewing Elden Ring and stuff, and they quantify a lot of things where it's like, well, there's gonna be 10 bosses here, and you're gonna load this and that. And it's like, nah, man. I don't wanna. I don't like.
Yeah. I think people get into the desire to know. They want to know everything. And that's certainly like cool to want to know everything, but then they tell you too much and suddenly you start to put the game together in your own head instead of like experiencing the game, which admittedly is sort of the same as spoilers. So that, some people may not be bothered by that. Like I'm not bothered by spoilers, but if you told me every action that happened up until that spoiler, I might be bothered. Like that's watching the movie versus here's the end. Watch the movie and see where we go. Admittedly, I know I'm rare in that case, but hoping Baldur's Gate 3 has some kind of ability to sort because Divinity Original Sin was brutal. Oh, inventory management, and you're right, man. Yeah, you're right.
Oh yeah, but after the update, they improved it a lot.
Just like hit a button and it auto sorts.
Divinity, yeah. There's a lot of like different.
I mean, auto sorts is like the way to go, right? Auto sort, just
and sorting by what you want. You want I'm on top. You want shit on the bottom.
Shit's always on the bottom.
UL is good, man. UX is important.
Yeah, UX is hyper important, man.
Yeah.
Like what you and I were talking about. I can't remember what it was. We were talking about some game where the UX in a game was good, and it's just like when you see a game where it's really nice and it feels good, where shit is. You're just like, oh, this is sweet. Yeah,
it's like one of my favorite things. Like one of the things I judge a game by, like one of the main factors where it's like, does this feel good to
is that why all you guys like Dead Space because of its inventory on your
Dead Space? I don't even
didn't Dead Space have an inventory on the the UI.
It integrated its UI into the actual
reality.
And Splinter Cell, Silver. Splinter Cell, even though it wasn't a bunch, but the little light on the back of
it did somewhat. Yeah.
Let's see. A
And,
Matrix.
the only good UI is a non-existent UI.
Yeah, if they can figure out a way, and I think they will, especially with Ghost of Tsushima pushing forward, mini maps being moved off and being the wind or what have you.
Yeah.
You know, there's various ways you could.
I would love that.
Yeah, so would I. I mean, at the very minimum, an option for it.
I like when games do that, man. Like, I don't like man. Red Dead when that came out, and there was a mini map there, and you always just like your eyes gravitate towards it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it caused me. I actually deleted the mini map from the game, and in the PS4 version, they had the thing where I had like this mini iPad thing from my mom, and I put the map there, and it caused me not to look at it as much. I'd only look at it if like I need it or something. So either that or the wind thing from Ghost of Tsushima, like those are I just don't like mini maps anymore.
I talked about this during the Walking the Walk for Mad Max, where you can get map mess, but then if there's a game where you can ignore the mini map or whatever, what you start to find out is that you're experiencing the game world via what you're seeing. Where in a game world with a busy HUD and a lot of alerts, which, by the way, hey, I'm not saying you shouldn't have them. I think Ubisoft does this best, where you can turn some stuff on and off. I'm not a big fan of just if people have been accustomed to this for years, let them have it. I think that's awesome. But you do experience the game differently when a map is telling you to walk up this hill. This sense of exploration is the next point, not the hill. And sometimes to me, I remember in Witcher 3, the hill, there was a particular hill even, I remember where, because I didn't have anything on and I was walking down it, and I remember looking at the rocks and seeing rocks. And if I turned on the mini-map, I would have just been like...
Yeah, that's the thing with games with mini-map. Like Witcher 3, I can't tell you, if you ask me for directions, like if you ask me for directions in Elden Ring, I tell you exactly where to go to find something. Like I know it because I learned it through looking at the map and seeing where I'm going. Rather
you explored that location. I think that's the big difference, is that you actually explored it.
It's instead of just turning right, it becomes turn right by the statue or turn right by the church or the bell tower or whatever it is. Like whatever geographical landmark is there that you use it as an identifiable marker.
Yeah. I do want to point out that, once again, none of us are saying, at least I'm not, that we should remove the option. No. Actually, I got into this argument recently where we were talking about Fallout, and people were celebrating that they had removed the voice from Fallout. And I was like, you're celebrating, why don't we just have the option to turn it off? And they're like, I'm glad that option is removed. You will have to have no... And I was like, man, you are a jackass. Like, you
people think you can only have one way or the other. People think like if you have a voice actor like Fallout, then all of the choices are going to be bogged down, that you're going to have 4 ways to say no, but that's not actually the case, right? But because of Fallout 4 and what that did, they're thinking, oh, now not having the option is going to be better for the game.
Let me also tell you this. If you're the type of person who says that, then you're also the type of person that says, oh, so Bethesda can't improve. If you didn't like Fallout 4, what you're saying is nothing is better than any attempt at letting them improve it and keeping the option in. Because there is no, that is pretty much your only choices. So, but anyway, regardless, I just want to make sure people knew we weren't saying remove those kind of things. If you can turn those off, I think that's probably best. I think Ghost of Tsushima I liked, but I can certainly say that at times I started to feel like the lack of stillness in that game did impact its drama a little bit. If I had walked into a place and it was still and the wind couldn't move, I probably would have been like, what the fuck is going on? Like, it would have been almost a sense of dread if I wasn't able to impact it. And I'm trying to think of like how they would handle that. What were we going to say, Silver?
For me, selfishly, like the main reason why I sometimes sort of gravitate towards wanting it to be sort of mandatory is that it would actually force game designers to design with that in mind. Because as it is, very frequently when you turn off the UI, it's very obvious that the game hasn't been designed around that. And so you get various handicaps, like not being able to identify what you're picking up in terms of inventory stuff very often. Like there's a lot of information that you don't get that you might need.
Like picking up a quest, they don't tell you where to go, right?
And that is and that isn't then communicated clearly for that reason.
Yeah, I think when you look at like, especially what happens with games is they're all gamified to the point to where in Ghost of Tsushima, it's like it is the wind and that's it. You're like, that's the wind. Like that's what'll happen. And instead of some games do this, I think Zelda is probably going to be the option that most people would go with that might do this. But once they give you their main change to the UI, you don't get any other changes. And it would have been cool, for example, to have a musical-based tracking system for one quest, wind for the other, something else. Yeah, like, cool. I mean, that's one thing that we get is a lot of developers are like, hey, we want to show you our wind-based compass. And you're like, now everything, we know that that's the thing, the wind-based compass. There is awesome uses for it, blah, 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 but you get that's it. And instead of saying, oh, but we also have a music-based thing that pops up in this quest. And you're like, whoa, where the wind doesn't blow. What if a creature was able to come into your location and Ghost of Tsushima and calm the winds? What if that was their ability? What if their ability was to be like, the winds can't blow, now you're lost, what do you do? Well, guess what? Cool. Jin, whatever, already knows how to play. So what if he has an ability that allows for him to play and the musical notes
like Zelda
seek out like that's why I brought it up. But instead, most developers get one thing. They're like, here's one thing, which goes back to the Fallout thing where it's like people are just like, it absolutely can't work. You're like, that's not how the real world works.
The music thing. Because imagine if you have a track that's playing, right? And if as you get like hotter or like closer to the place you gotta go, they add more layers. You know how
exactly.
They do this often, where it's like the basic track and then they add more layers, right? Like, oh, the voice comes in, or you know, the bass comes in, the distortion comes, all this stuff. Until then, it's like, oh, you're very close, and you know.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Asheron's Call did this. Number 2, I believe. Everybody could have a musical instrument, and if you sat around a campfire, every person who sat down played their instrument, which added to the song. Which then, I think it was 1 or 2. I can't remember. But yeah, so the song would be playing. Somebody sit down. Their guitar now is added to it. Somebody sat down a flute. The flute is now added to it.
Oh, don't they do it in Sea of Thieves as well? When you play the instruments?
Do they? Like, well, yeah, they do merge together. That is true,
they
right?
Yeah.
Don't they, Silver? Yeah. So
Fallout
if like
76, yeah.
And it gets especially fun if you're drunk.
Fallout 76. What? Fallout 76
does that. Yeah. You can find like a random banjo and play it, and then someone else can play like a flute next to it, and they converge and go on the same rhythm and make a melody.
Nice.
Wow. I've never.
It's like one of the first things like coming out of the vault. There's
that
like
you like learn or pick up.
You go and explore. Yeah.
Huh. All right. But anyway, so this is all starting with Callisto, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this all starting with Callisto? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, so
50%.
Yeah, 50% more. Or 50% or more up close. We just don't know what it means. But from what we've seen, I think it looks good. It looks good.
Yep.
It looks like something that people will want to play. I'm trying not to get too hyped up on it though, because now there's this, plus there's we changed the camera angles for the trailer, plus there's this and that, and after a while I'm like, okay, what we are seeing, I don't know if that's a representation of what we're even getting anymore. So now
we've had many times the experience of going into a game thinking it's gonna be something. I'm thinking about Anthem right now, where like, and then you go into it. And,
do you know one of the worst is not games? It's movie trailers, Johnny. A movie trailer sometimes will forget that it's been cut for the theatrical release, but they'll have the joke in the trailer, or they'll have a moment in the trailer, and you liked that moment in the trailer. And this has happened to me many times, where I'm like, man, this looks good. And you go in, when you get done, you're like, that part didn't happen in the trailer at all, or they cut it so that a joke. Or that a joke between two characters is actually not. It's actually something completely different, but they cut it well in the trailer.
Context
yeah.
Or then you have the inverse of it, where they just give away everything in the trailer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that is true. Callisto Protocol looks awesome. I'm in day one purchase. Awesome. Dark Tide's still looking good. Yes, it is.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, 50% of that is going to be melee. I can tell you that.
More than 50. I mean, well, maybe not. I don't know, man. Like that game seems to have
a lot of guns in there too.
there's a lot of guns in there.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
different
I think it
classes, right?
also depends on your character. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people in Vermintide had both ranged and melee. Some were only melee, you know, some were mostly ranged.
I just-
in this one, obviously, it's guns, so it's gonna be way more pronounced, right?
I won't say I, blindly trust anybody, but I mean, for the most part, as long as they did go nuts, we already know that they can handle up close combat really well. So it's like
I'm actually really looking forward to seeing, because one of the, I think, unsung parts of Vermintide, because we've talked a lot about the melee combat, but it's actually the banter.
Yeah,
like the character, like
especially that drunk.
that audio aspect, the banter between the different characters. So the banter between like Carillion and the dwarf, I forget his name.
And the dwarf,
now. And the Empire guy as well. And Saltspire, like
what was his name? Kraus or Kraut or Carl? Was it? What was the guy from the Emperor? Was it?
It wasn't Carl.
It wasn't.
It
Okay.
was, yeah, I don't.
It wasn't.
remember.
Okay, I keep thinking
There's
it was.
a level, part of a DLC in Vermintide 2 where you and the gang have to go and you start getting drunk, and then shit breaks loose, and the rats start coming, and you have to keep drinking because you don't want to get hungover, and you have to fight while drunk, and the banter there is fucking hilarious.
Kruber. Thank you, Mr. Agent. Kruber.
Yeah.
I was close. Carl. Hey.
Carl.
I got the k sound. Anthem needed a bigger. This is from Dono Chad. Anthem needed a bigger map, a bigger arena, more verticality to take advantage of in his flight mechanics. It never got that, which frankly hobbled it horribly. Yeah, that's a good. I mean, the thing is there were parts of Anthem that were fun as hell.
Yeah.
Second to second, there was some awesome combat in Anthem. Second to second, it felt really good. But those seconds were at the most, 60, maybe. And then after a while, you're just like, it's got just too many things going on. So, but hey, live and learn, man.
But yeah, that voice aspect just added a lot to Vermintide, because like when you're playing like a dwarf with a battle axe, and you're like the dwarf is laughing as you're just hacking bits and pieces off Ratman, like that adds a lot to the experience.
Yeah.
Prod Butterfly says, Karak, I would say I liked your talk about Starfield's procedural gen. That video calmed my nerves. Yeah, no problem. You shouldn't have any nerves about a goddamn video game, though, bro. Any thoughts on the new Plague Tale gameplay trailer? Did you guys see the new trailer for Plague Tale?
I saw it.
What'd you think?
So I think it looks good. It doesn't look like they're doing anything different with the gameplay.
Right.
But that's not a negative, because it was a good game. But I was hoping that it would evolve a bit in a different direction. And what it seems like, the main addition that I saw was the X-ray vision. I don't know if you guys watched it, but basically your little bro, has this like rat sense, right? He can like fucking smell people or something because he's connected to the rats, and you see people through walls. Personally, I'm not a fan of the X-ray vision stuff in games. So I don't love the addition of that, and it seems you have to rely on that pretty heavily to traverse the areas.
Gotcha.
Well, you do get a
That was
crossbow
the
this
only
time,
thing.
right?
Yeah.
Like
Sorry?
instead of a rock sling, you do get a crossbow you can shoot people with.
Yeah, you got a few more. You had a crossbow, at least like one or two more things that were new as well.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't look into the deep dive because I was like, well, it's Plague Tale, right? I know what I know that I like the first one, and I didn't think they were gonna change it too much,
I mean, yeah, I'll play it, and whatever it is, it is. The idea of adding, that's the thing, is they added stuff, and Johnny's like, I don't know if I need that stuff, but at the same time, you could tell he was saying it would be cool also if they had changed some stuff. It's like, you can't win if you're a dev,
I just
right?
didn't like the addition.
It's like that you didn't like the, and I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying I actually would be on your side as well, in the same way. But that's the life of a dev, right? Where you're like, people are like, I want new stuff.
You can't win.
You're okay. Here's new stuff, and they're like, I don't like your new stuff. I want other new stuff. And you're like, well, dude, if I had ESP and y'all agreed, it'd be a little easier. Dude, here's the thing. I don't care what people say, man. For the most part, when I go to a sequel for a movie, I am not the kind of person that wants it to shake up the world. I'm just not. I never have been. I never have been. If you build on what you had and you refresh my love for characters or the location of the world or whatever, I don't need it. In fact, if you try to inspire revolution in your story, a lot of times I'm like, it may not even be why I liked it in the first place. So
yeah,
as long as they don't do too much. I don't know about the idea of switching out a crossbow, because the idea of having that was you could pick up rocks anywhere, even though you couldn't, but the idea in your brain, you could pick up rocks anywhere for your sling. The idea of having a crossbow is a little too pointed. It's not a pun. I mean, it's just a little too dangerous to have. Now you've got a crossbow, so now it's not the rats. You can't knock somebody upside the head with a rock. Now you can shoot them in the eyeball with a crossbow. So now you're a sniper who controls rats.
The
and
power
shit starts
dynamics
changing.
change a lot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about this X-ray.
Yeah.
We'll have to see. I'm not a fan of adding, like nom vision is what we called it in
Mafia 3.
Mafia 3, yeah, where it's like he came back from Nom and they were like, yeah, you can see because of Nom, and you're just like, Jesus, we're getting there now. Like that's what you need to describe.
Seeing through walls kind of diminishes my enjoyment of
the threat level,
games.
right?
Yeah, I like to rely on sound more and just like my vision. Even marking enemies and stuff, I stopped, interacting with that as much because it's just much more fun kind of just relying on your senses. Yeah,
feels a little weird when you mark an enemy in a game and they walk off and you still see the triangle and you're like
20 miles away.
Yeah.
There's
There's something weird about it. I do like games where maybe there's no triangle, but like the heat map shows where they are and then maybe it fades after a bit of time.
In the world, or like using a drone to spot enemies and be like, okay, so I see enemies here. Like, let's say it's co-op and it's like, I'm looking at the enemies and I'm going to relay to you the information, stuff like that makes sense in the game world. Right. I always enjoy.
Name band again, $50 super chat. Happy Friday, fellas. Hit that like button. I'm hitting it on my own channel. Thank you very much. Appreciate it, man. Hope you're doing well. There was Nom vision. There's been, drone vision. There's been magic user vision, X-ray vision, predator vision. All these games do it, and it does change. It doesn't mean it's bad, but it does change the power dynamic when you have the ability to see around corners. And I still believe to this day, I'll hear somebody bitching about AI, and I'll be like, do you really know what they're trying to do with the AI? Because if you can see around corners, at some point you have to be like, how's the AI going to fight you? Like, what are you going to allow the AI to do? Somebody be like, well, they have unlimited bullets. It's like, yeah, but you can see around corners, dude. Like, at some point, there has to be, what are we going to do? And then the developer has to go and be like, we're going to change this. We're going to change this. That's why I was so happy when Matt Broom, he came on a couple times. He didn't end up making the game, but their idea was a way to stop any, cheating by looking around. Even though it was a third-person game, he had skills that you had to buy to upgrade to allow you to look around corners. And if you didn't, there were fancy mechanics.
I like that. Even Scum addressed that, even though it's third person.
Yes, Scum did address
taking cover. You don't see people behind the wall. You have to actually look.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. Blazed Wick, $5 super chat. What do you guys think about Wolf Among Us 2?
Cool.
Haven't seen it.
Very excited.
I haven't played any Telltale game, so
dude, I'm excited for it.
Love that stuff.
That's the best one, I think.
Wolf Among Us,
the first one.
That's that's the one on like fairy tales, right? Like there's like Beauty and the Beast and all that shit.
Mm-hmm.
Have they showed any Wolf Among Us 2 yet?
Dude, I'm pretty sure the only thing I saw from Wolf Among Us 2 was the original. Like, didn't they show Barnaby? Is that his name? Barnaby?
Oh,
I thought they showed him and that was it. I could be wrong, but I mean it's been ages too.
Bad Wolf, I think they do. Yeah, I think they call him like Barnaby or something.
Yeah, it's been ages, man. I think for sure when it comes to Telltale games, I'm just a little bit not easier on them. I guess I just enjoy them more than other people. It seems like a lot of people aren't fans.
In the mood, when I played Detroit Become Human, finished it from beginning to end, I was in the mood for that type of thing. So Maybe next time I'm in the mood to just sit back and play something like that, I will try Wolf Among Us, but I have to be like in the mood for that, like something without like much gameplay, right?
Well, did you do Batman?
I didn't do any Telltale game other than like Detroit Become Human and like Heavy Rain back in the day.
But which weren't Telltale. You mean even that type of game? You didn't even do
that
it.
type of game.
So
I
you
did
haven't
Until
done it.
Dawn.
Okay, but you haven't done a Telltale game.
I haven't. I've done like the first season of a
Walking
Walking
Dead.
Dead like a long time ago when it came out. Yeah.
Did you guys play all the Walking Dead games?
Yes.
Yeah, so did I.
Oh,
What about you, Silver?
I didn't play. I don't think I played 3, but I definitely didn't play 4, like season 3 and 4.
Michonne's was bad, man.
That's
I
the
wasn't.
one I didn't play. I stopped
Yeah.
right before that one.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. I wasn't a fan of Tales from the Borderlands either.
Didn't play that either, but that was largely because I'm not a fan of Michonne the character in the.
Oh,
comics.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Wait,
What were you saying,
Karak,
Johnny?
you didn't like Tales? Because I thought it was pretty good.
Of the Borderlands? No,
Yeah.
it just probably because it's just probably one of those things where you expect,
Like
you
the
want to be shooting or
characters?
whatever. I get really tired of one character can see a person but the other can't. I don't know why. I hate it in shows. I hate it in movies. I hate the conceit of like, here's a ghost.
the dynamic.
Dude,
Yeah.
any TV show where they're like, here's a ghost, blah, 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 I'm almost always like, I'm frustrated. Or there's two conceits I don't like in TV shows. That, and the other one is where there's a secret that you could easily tell somebody, but you decide not to, and it ruins everybody's fucking entire season. Where they'll be like,
Yeah.
the one thing, I love you and I'll save you, but the one thing you can't do is tell the other person the one thing that would fix everything. And you're like, come on, every time. It's so lazy. Yeah, it's just something I wasn't a fan of. What's up, Wandering Dutch? New member. Thank you very much. If you guys get a chance, check out Wandering Dutch's podcast as well. I was just talking to him this morning.
Will do. What's up, man?
Anything else to add to this before we move
Well,
on?
I have a quick question
Okay.
for you guys that follows up on what you were saying, character. Did I call it character?
You called me character, which I like.
Oh my
you
God.
did.
I'm
'Cause I was
I'm
thinking
okay
about
with that.
character.
Nah, I'm good.
Yeah. So, because you were saying you don't really want sequels to be like completely subversive of.
I don't
the-
need them to
or-
be.
You don't need them.
Yeah.
But what happens when they are? So let's think, for example, like Assassin's Creed, right? When they switched in Origins, they did just a harsh change from the
Mhm.
classic gameplay to like this completely new thing. Were you bothered by that?
No, but I also don't.
How do you view that?
I don't believe it's nearly the change that people blew it up to be. It's still an Assassin's Creed game. It feels weird. There's still less assassinations, but the movement's different. But there's something about it that's still the DNA of Assassin's Creed. So I wasn't like, oh my god, the entire world's changed. Everything's
I
different.
see
And I was
what you
like,
mean.
not as much
I
as people
think-
are. And I just played Syndicate after I played Origins, and I was like, nah, they're not as different as people. I mean, they are different. It's just not the gulf that people were like, but I wasn't really talking about that, just so you know. I was talking more along the lines about story and characters, like Matrix did that.
That
Matrix
makes
had you
sense.
believe in the
Yeah.
Matrix, the first one, right? Had you believe in this awesome thing, but at the same time, they showed you
Yeah.
the back end. And then 2 and 3, they neuter the fantasy. They're like, we want to make it so bad that no matter what you choose, it's bad. And you're like, I didn't necessarily need that. Those are
It
bad
would be
movies.
like
I've-
if you do an epic fantasy novel, but instead of like sticking to the tropes, you try to be super subversive. Like if
Yeah.
halfway in, you change completely into a romance or something.
or the good guy's
then
the
all of a
bad guy.
sudden-
You're
yeah,
just like,
all of
"Ah,
a
okay,
sudden you
whatever."
lose all the people that were in it for the epic
Yeah.
fantasy, and the people that would have liked the romance didn't get to that part because they hated the epic fantasy shit.
And
So
the
you
thing
lost,
is
like-
I'm also okay if it does change. I just don't need it, is what I'm saying.
Right.
What were you saying?
Yeah, like man, people complain about like the Yakuza thing as well. People complain about like Assassin's Creed stuff, and I'm like, dude, whatever a company wants to do or devs, whatever they have a vision for it, fuck it, go for it. If you want to
Oh,
innovate, go for it.
Yakuza. Sorry, it took me a
You know
second.
what
You
I
mean
How they
like a
went to
dragon going
turn-based, right?
turn-based? Yeah.
And I'm
right.
like, fuck it, dude. Try new things.
Yeah.
Do knock yourself out. Do whatever you want. And the thing with Assassin's Creed, which was fucking weird, was for a long time people were like, okay, you gotta change the form. Okay, it's the same thing over and over. Okay, what the? And then when they did do something kind of different, everyone complained. So you're never gonna please everyone. And to me, it's just like, fuck it. If it's a good game, it's a good game. If you want to innovate, you want to change everything, fuck it, do it. I don't need it. Obviously, like Karak said, But if you want to, knock yourself out, you have a vision, you want to innovate, fuck it. Who am I to say, like,
I felt that
no.
way with Dragon. I gave Dragon a chance. I love the idea, and I played turn-based, and I realized while I was playing it, not prior, but while I was playing it, I was like, I fully enjoy Yakuza better.
With
Real-time combat. Yeah, and I didn't even hate Dragon because of it. I was like, I get it. This is what they... And then Judgment, unfortunately, I thought was going to be the sequel. It was, and that's another thing. If it had been terrible, I might have thought something different. It wasn't the tightest. It was just goofy and it felt like what I was hoping Shenmue would feel like when I was a kid and I first heard about Shenmue on the Saturn. And then I played Shenmue and I'm like, this is the worst controlling game that's ever been made. Shenmue was fucking horrible, man. Like, control-wise in battles. And I think Yakuza was fun, man. You grab somebody and you throw them by the balls into a light pole and you're like, and the turn-based part,
Judgment, how they improved it with
didn't
the stuff
work for me. Yeah.
Like running up walls and doing all that stuff.
What do you think about all this, Silver?
I think branding comes with a certain set of expectations. So if you're gonna brand your game a Tomb Raider game, right?
Right.
There's gonna be a set range of expectations associated with that. Like if you suddenly make your character like an overweight 60-year-old guy, that's not really what sort of has defined Tomb Raider up until that point, right?
No, but so now I want this game.
Yes,
whatever. But go ahead, continue.
And I mean, similarly, Assassin's Creed, the first Assassin's Creed game to me that didn't feel like Assassin's Creed was Black Flag, because to me, what had always defined Assassin's Creed was really sort of the historical tourism. It was going into these ancient, or like not ancient, but like medieval European cities, like or Middle Eastern cities, like Accra, like Jerusalem, like Firenze, Venezia, and so on, right? And seeing like a representation of what they may have looked like during like the Italian Renaissance and stuff like that. And that tourism aspect was enormously compelling to me, and that was what an enormous part of what drew me to Assassin's Creed. And Black Flag, and to an extent Assassin's Creed 3, which was more sort of dependent on the wilderness, sort of did away with some of that tourism aspect in favor of more like action, moment-to-moment gameplay.
No, I actually agree with that. I felt the same way.
That to me sort of more broke with that Assassin's Creed feeling for me, where even though Origins sort of changed a lot of systems, it retained that core sense of historical tourism with like ancient Egypt and going into ancient tombs and seeing like Alexandria, like a representation of ancient Alexandria that was really compelling to explore and see from a historical standpoint.
Yeah, it's weird because I definitely felt the same way about Black Flag, where I was like, this is just it wasn't bad.
Yeah,
it was like
this could just be like
it could be any game.
It could be an evolution of Sid Meier's Pirates rather than.
Yeah. And it was good, by the way, for a lot of people, and I enjoyed it. I just didn't love it, but I do feel that change was more noticeable. 3 started it, though. Yeah, that is true. I actually liked 3 at the starting. So when was it Kenway at the starting? And you're on the boat,
Kenway,
and you're trying to figure out the little mystery on the boat. I actually enjoyed that mini part way more than when you got to the open world. I got to the open world and I was like, this is not. There's something about it that felt it. I don't know. It didn't work for me.
You can run up trees this time. So.
You could run up trees. Yeah, you could run up trees. But regardless, the cool thing about Assassin's Creed, and I'll stay it to the end, is that there's maybe only 1 or 2 games that aren't incredible, and for the most part it's technical issues. There might be 1 or 2 that people that like didn't hit or resonate, but for the most part, even Liberation, which I did the HD version after they did the port, it's a long-running series of pretty good games. Like it's pretty ridiculous when you look at Assassin's Creed. You're like, well, it's like Far Cry. Maybe somebody doesn't remember 3 or 4 as much as they remember 2 or even 5 or maybe 6. Gotta hand it to those guys. They, like, a lot of people like them, and they're not bad games. I've played bad games before. Those aren't bad.
They're just, I feel like they're lacking substance. At least the new ones. You know.
I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, I sometimes think that they aren't, and that we just need to find our substance somewhere else.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe
Like,
it's
I
just
don't
not
know
my
if that's
thing,
true or
but-
not. I'm just
Yeah.
talking out loud,
Yeah.
thinking maybe that's where we are. Maybe.
Mhm.
Because Valhalla, something happened with Valhalla. And I'm going to probably do a walking the walk because I love Vikings. I'm really into it. I've done a bunch of study for this because I was expecting Valhalla to be better. Something was empty in Valhalla. And
You know,
but
what it
it's
was
got
for me?
amazing characters, and the voice actor,
does.
Canute, he's
Yeah.
so good in Last Kingdom. He's awesome. Like, everything about that should
Even
have been
Hussam,
the best
the Arab.
game. Like,
Hussam had a really, or was it his name Hassan? I think the thing with me though for Valhalla was the issue with Valhalla for me. I liked a lot of it. The issue with me was every single time you wanted to, there was like a treasure or something you wanted to find. It was either behind a barred door, a locked
it was
door.
gamified, the repeat.
It was
on
very
repeat.
gamified, and I was
repeat,
like, "Fuck!
yeah.
I don't want to find a key again. I don't want to go to a window and like."
And it was always in a secret spot under a hay bale or whatever, and you were like, "Oh my god, how does anybody
Yeah,
get
just-
into this fucking place? Like, what are you? God
I
damn!"
hated that.
Oh, it's making me
Oh
sick
my
to my
God.
stomach because I actually remember one time where I got a little sick because I was so in a panic to try to find a way in.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then your guy would be in there because sometimes your NPC would be in there going, "Hey, I found the treasure," and you're like, "Where? How the fuck did you get there? Could you come
Yeah.
back to
Yeah,
me
yeah.
and lead me
And
there?"
I thought to myself, okay, what if I ignore all this? But it's like, okay, then I'm never gonna get gear.
Yeah.
because all of them
That's a
are
good point.
stored in there.
So,
you know?
I hadn't, dude, that made me sick to my stomach. I remember.
Yeah, that was an annoying aspect of it.
Yeah, I remember that repetitive, that moment of going like, "Fuck, he's inside
Yeah.
the center log cabin or whatever," and you're like, "Oh no,
Yeah.
I got to get
Yeah.
into one more chest," and
But I
every
mean,
place has got it.
They did have good ideas with like encounters. They seemed like
The
Yakuza
the
kind
rhyming,
of, side
the
stories.
the battle rapping. I was like,
There's
I'm all
battle
for this because
rapping.
that's right from history. Like,
Yeah,
that-
and there's like random like quests that don't have quest markers where you have to figure out things like
yes,
helping
they
some
continued
people
the murder kind of stuff that we saw all
Yeah.
the way back from Syndicate, and I think even prior to that we had one or two.
Yeah, Unity started that.
Syndicate was prior to Unity, wasn't it?
and they
No,
reminded
Syndicate was after
no,
Unity.
Unity was prior. It reminded me of Yakuza sub stories a lot, like those little
Hmm.
encounters with random people. Yeah.
Yeah,
and developing relationships with people in your camp, upgrading your camp, and how it changes the.
all that was
That's
good.
some
Your
good idea.
second, your pawn, we'll call him a pawn, but you make basically a pawn in Assassin's Creed instead of Dragon's Dogma, and
Yeah.
your what are they, sergeant, your man or woman at arms?
Jan speaking.
Yeah, that was
yeah.
awesome. That was awesome, man. Yeah, it's just
And the
I don't
dice
know.
game, I loved the dice game. That
dice
was a
game
fun
good.
ass game.
Orlog.
That mini game. Yes, that game
You know,
was fun.
I think also, like, when we look at this and you look at other games that are coming up, I'm going to be really interested to see if God of War, we can jump to God of War because, this is how it started, was God of War. But to circle all this back to God of War, actually, I saw somebody yesterday mention in the Discord that they had become a little lost in God of War with the way the world worked. And a lot of, especially, I think, the place with the bridge where you do the gears on
Right.
the bridge and it moves. And I agree. I wonder how they're going to handle that in the new one, if it's just going to be a complete add-on and you're going to be doing all the same stuff, or if how they're going to go about that, because I actually didn't find the world of God of War interesting as much as I think they thought it was. If that makes sense. I thought the characters were interesting, the bad guys were interesting, and the story was interesting. But I didn't feel a sense of grandeur like I thought I was going to, especially like when I went to the elf lore, they're flying around. I thought they were cool. But the spot was just sort of like,
Well,
oh, okay.
maybe when we see Asgard, right?
Right. No, I mean, is it? Wait. It's called Ragnarok. Where are they going in this one? Is it Asgard?
Ragnarok is like the end of the world.
Yeah,
thing.
but where are they going in
Ragnarok
this
is
one?
like location.
I don't know,
I
but we
would
might go
assume
to Asgard.
Okay,
We might
okay.
go and kill all.
Sorry, you
unless
just
they're
said something that
leaving
made me
many
think
other
that I had
places.
missed a trailer. So,
No.
Yeah,
it's
so-
speculation.
what will we see? It'll be interesting because
But
I don't.
I was a huge
I didn't-
fan.
Were you?
Like I love hub worlds.
Probably Vanaheim as well. I would
So do I,
expect.
but that was the complaint, that they felt that the hub world was there were too many paths. It didn't choose open world. It didn't choose hub world. It chose, what did he say? It's in the Discord. Like hubby path. It was like,
Well,
it sounds dirty.
Like,
but-
I love the sense of exploration because, so I like, well, for example, let's take Doom. Doom is a linear game, but with some secrets and
Yeah.
paths, right, that
Yeah.
you can take. So what God of War did was that there's this hub world, but once you go into, like, let's say an island or a place, it's mostly linear, but there's paths that branch out and there are secrets there. And I really enjoyed that sense of exploration because it's very palatable. It's not too
That
much.
was very
right?
Metroid-like.
yeah.
Yes, very Metroidvania-like. Yeah.
Yeah. I definitely didn't get that feeling. I liked it a lot. I saw somebody in here immediately thought because I had an issue with the way the world was that I hated God of War.
No, you
Not
loved
what I
it.
said. I loved
You
it.
loved it. Your only
Yeah.
issues with the FOV.
People need to need to step off with the instant shit. It's
Yeah.
like, no, man. It's just that part of it didn't gather me. I
Watch
thought
his
everything
two
was.
reviews. His
What-
two
yeah,
reviews on it,
Watch 2
where he
reviews
recommends
and
it
I think a walk in the
twice.
walk.
And
Yeah,
I think it's a fair criticism because, yeah, I mean, that central lake hub area.
Yeah, the
wasn't-
central. I think that's pretty much
That
Silver what I'm talking about. Like, I just
Yeah.
remember the
Oh,
gear, the
true.
Central Lake, and being like, "Oh my fucking god!"
For
Well,
ages in
what
the
it-
lake.
It
Yeah.
made it more tolerable for me because of the conversation between the characters, where they give you some Norse lore and stuff.
Oh, they were definitely. That's what
made
they
it
used it
enjoyable.
for. Yeah, which I loved.
Yeah.
I loved getting. I do believe that it could possibly be that you took a while to get the dude, the headless guy. The
Mimir?
yeah, it took a while, and maybe if you had him right away. Also, I know that everybody loved Boy, but I gotta say, at
Boy.
some point, I get very annoyed with people who are blatantly annoying in a game. I don't know any other way to describe that. So at some point,
Right.
if Kratos is there, boy, you punch Kratos, you're just like, okay, fuck off, I'm drowning you. Like, I'm done with you. And it became a one-note thing after a while. That also could be because I'm reviewing it and I'm paying more attention, where some people are just like, maybe
Dude, imagine
traipsing
if-
through and not picking up on that. I could be wrong, but what were you saying, Johnny?
I'm imagining Atreus now. You know, when he goes to revive you, instead of reviving, he goes like, "Who's the boy now, bitch?" And then leaves him, you know?
That'd be cool for what's a term, like a director's cut, like a joke, you know,
A
the
little
fake.
parody or something.
Yeah, that
Oh,
would be
dude,
awesome.
but I love
That would be
Christopher Judge, dude. I bet you anything.
Oh
Remember
yeah,
when
who
they
doesn't?
were-
He's good.
Remember when they were going up a mountain and Atreus goes like, "Oh, so that's the mountain we have to climb," and he goes like, "Indeed." And I 100% think that all the fucking Corey and all of them over there, after he said that, they all giggled and were like, "Oh my god, he said the word." And stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that was like on purpose.
Yeah, so hopefully they sort of learn from their mistakes. One of the things you'll never hear me say is any game's perfect. Other people can believe that, but like I definitely had issues with God of War. I just think that the one big thing I would also like fixed is their throwing axe combat, which
Oh my God.
it works.
I hated that shit.
But it's pretty fucking
It's so
shit.
good.
Like, no, it is not. Go back
The
now
combat
and
was
play it.
pristine. I
Well, that's
did.
because it's the first time like we see Kratos do it. It is not. It is insanely
good.
gamified and connected to that controller that when you start to like, especially when you play it on the PC, you're like, oh, I get how it could have been. And
What do you
there's a
mean?
huge step up. Control, speed of movement, the ability, when they say the ability to control it, the ability to aim, it all feels directly tied into almost like you're playing a digital 1-0 controller versus an analog controller. And it's weird because when we were reviewing it, people were mentioning that in the review thread. People were like, wow, this does feel weird. Like, you don't think about it until you sort of get the other way to control a game. And you're like,
oh man, I thought the combat in the game was pristine, man.
I didn't say the
Like,
combat wasn't
like the
pristine.
full- No, I mean like the throwing the axe and bring it back and throwing it and using your fists and then
Yeah,
and bring it
yeah,
back.
I do not. I mean, I think it
Oh, sure.
feels gamified, but it's not like terrible. But there's
Okay.
huge bonuses I think that they could do to it and make it more flexible.
Oh yeah.
A lot of that might also be tied to the FOV, which is shit. Like
Yeah,
the honest
that's
truth
FOV.
is the FOV is probably 80% of my issues are probably vagina cam. And if that went away, I probably wouldn't have any issues with any of this because you could see the sense of presence in that game is pretty fucking horrible. And you don't really pick up on it because that you don't ever see a larger sense of presence. But then once you start looking at like when you look at your screen and then you start to see and you're like, holy shit, this is the tightest FOV I've seen in years.
Yeah.
That would be a huge bonus. Maybe add 10%. Maybe add 20%. I would kill if they said 20% bigger FOV.
Yeah,
What
it's
would
not a
that
very
be?
good idea for a character to take up half the screen, like Batman did it.
Yeah, or have to hit a button to spin. That's when you know there's a problem, when the developer's like, we need a quick turnaround button. By the way, Code Veronica had that. That's how bad like control was in Resident Evils. What was the FOV? I think they said it was about 55 to 65 in God of War. So it might even be tighter than that. So let's say you add 20, let's say you get 80 FOV, depending on your vertical, all that stuff. I think I'd be really happy with that. I think a lot of the stuff would go away.
Games.
Yeah. I think that would probably improve it.
You do raise an interesting question in how they're going to handle realm travel in Ragnarok. Because, I mean, presumably you would have to return to that lake location in order to like go to Vanaheim and escort and stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how they do it. Christopher, $5 super chat. I think the tree and boat sections were a way to hide loading screens. Is that true? Everything's hiding loading screens in that. Yeah, they have a flash out. They always try to say they have no loading screens. They for sure have loading screens. I'm not 100% sure why, but anyway.
Or even walking between two tight walls, you know.
And that's cool. That's awesome.
A good way to do it.
It was a great game anyway. It was like that's the way you should hide loading screens. I also hope people don't cut cutscenes out of games because they think people will think that's a loading screen. I actually like the occasional cutscene in a game. Like, I don't know, there was one time where they're like, oh, whenever you're crawling between two pipes, that's a cutscene. I'm like, well, don't cut that, because sometimes crawling between two pipes is what's the aha moment where you like, or like in Tomb Raider. I don't know if you guys remember Tomb Raider Rise of. You come out of the cave, you blast the wall, you open it, and you come out, and she looks over the city.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, it's that feeling of awe. Don't get rid of that.
They always view like, oh, devs are hiding this, or oh, it's not real AI. It's got, well, who gives a shit? It works well. I mean, it makes sense in the game world. I mean, why not?
Yeah, it's going to be cool to see, though. I mean,
I find it interesting that so few developers have gone the Valve route with cutscenes like of Half-Life, of actually
putting them in the game.
Like giving you player agency during the cutscene.
Yeah,
as it were.
I love that shit.
But I mean, I guess maybe that's because, like, I think maybe 70% of Half-Life players were like bunny hopping around the room while the cutscene or whatever was playing.
It's the best part of the game.
The narrative.
It's the best part of that game.
This is a speedrunning tactic, is they pick up like an object in the game world and put it on someone's head, and they skip to the end of the cutscene.
What the fuck? And that works for some reason?
If you pick up an object and let's say like an Half-Life 2 an NPC is walking slow, you drop a box on their head and they just disappear and reappear at their intended destination.
That obviously, so when people figure those kind of things out, that's the best part. When you you don't realize, remember in Fallout, I think, where they couldn't make a train, so it's actually an NPC with a train hat. And you're like, dude, that's the best story in the world. Like, that is amazing.
Someone underground is just running really fast.
Yeah. Oh, dude, it was awesome. John says, what are we talking about? I seriously doubt FromSoft is releasing anything else in the near future. This is just, it's what they said. They said they're nearly done with the game. So ask FromSoft. Rogerio says, I think God of War hides it well with dialogue. At least it's engaging. Yeah, I would agree, man. There's some really cool stuff with games that sort of cheat it. Metro did full loading screens, right? Metro Exodus? That did full loading between the
loading screen. Between regions.
You did the train between the locations, right?
Yeah.
Didn't have that? Yeah. So you don't always have to get rid of it. I think Alan Wake was a full 360 world, so I guess they didn't really have to worry about. What about Quantum Break? Quantum Break had the movies in between each level. But did they do loading screens as well? Does anybody remember anything about Quantum Break other than that it wasn't Alan Wake?
I never played it.
Somehow.
Okay.
Me neither. Did Control have loading screens?
I don't.
Oh man, that's
it does. Well, when you fast travel, that's.
Yeah, but I mean, like going into.
Yeah, I think that's only when you fast travel.
Object of power.
Well, and it puts when you go into a different area, right, where like the map changes.
Elevators, right?
Right.
Elevators
There are
in
elevators, yeah.
there are elevators, yeah.
That kind of
And then
thing.
elevators, of course, in Mass Effect, which, by the way, as I stated would happen, I was like, if you cut the parts in Mass Effect and you make the elevators too fast, you're going to miss some of the unique, goofy story parts of Mass Effect, and that is exactly what happened.
Exactly what happened.
It's exactly what happened. And I was like, God damn it, guys! Yes, were there because of a technical reason. They filled it with good content, though. So you need to figure out how to play that content on loudspeakers and stuff so people can still hear it. What about people in chat? We'll ask everybody in chat, do cutscenes, and don't give me this, it depends. Overall, do cutscenes do you like cutscenes that are in real time where you can move the character around? Or would you rather have like what was it, Uncharted, I guess?
Well, it
would be a good
depends.
example. Don't.
I think Mass Effect was one of those damned if they do and damned if they don't. Because yeah, you did have like one or two of those like
Well, I'm sure
narrative
they were
deliveries,
damned.
either conversations on the elevator or like the news talking about something you did.
Yeah.
But then like for every one of those, there was like, at least from my experience, there was like 10 elevator trips where there wasn't really anything notable.
Or repeated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Here's why I liked it, though, Silver. Because the one or two times it came up, it did something that the game was still better than most Skyrim, Bethesda, Oblivion games, and that's that it showed your growth in power and the spread of the word of your name. I liked that. There's something about hearing Shepard did this, and you're there, and they're talking in third person, and they're like, we're talking to Commander Shepard, and you're like, that's me. You're like behind everybody, like, huh?
Yeah.
You know what I hate about cutscenes? Fuck. Did you play Ghostwire Tokyo?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay, the first fucking hour okay, maybe it's just me, but in first person games, minus a few, like Doom does it pretty well. Doom does it very well with the cutscenes, like with the emoting of the guy that has no voice that kind of just punches things.
Yeah.
You do well. But I hate, like in Metro Exodus did it well too, where it's like every cutscene, everything you see is from your own eyes. With Ghostwire, I played it and it's like every 2 seconds they pull me out of the character and it's just like a cutscene viewing my character that I'm playing as in first person. I don't really like that. I like to be still in first person.
Gotcha. I get that.
I mean, the first person cutscenes are a bit mystifying when they don't go with like the Half-Life approach of giving you like a free look or something, of letting the player look, when it feels like, when it's just when the look is restricted to whatever it is they want you to look at. And sometimes it can be really jarring because like you'll be forced to look at all sorts of directions, where it really sort of pulls you out of the moment.
As well as customization, right? Because if you have that's the difference also, real time and not real time, is sometimes you'll have customization, your character still shows up, like, level 1 Halo Master Chief versus level 50 that you are. You'll see that sometimes in cutscenes where you're like, the stuff isn't added on. It depends on the game and how it handles it, obviously. But I think that Lester says Elden Ring cutscenes were disappointing. Dude, I can't even remember an Elden Ring cutscene.
I don't know what cutscene. Probably just like
I
the
think
boss
he's joking.
intros or something.
There's some good
the boss. I think he might be talking about that. I will say,
I love those.
I did too, but depending on the game or the boss, you may have seen that 30 times. That can be a little bit
probably you can skip it, but like, let us die. What was the let us join the gods together,
dude? The only one that I had huge issues with in that entire game is the guy who's not even a boss. It's the sub boss of the Godric, whatever his name is.
Margit, yeah.
Dude, what was that guy? I was just like, what the is going on? What's happening? I was just getting my ass kicked, and then I kill him, and then I go to the other bosses, and I'm like,
and he's easier.
They're way easier. It's not even it's not even on the same level when I got to them. And you could say it's a skill bump, but I don't think it is. I think that there is a tiny bit of like, depending on when you get there too, because I did get there early, like not super early.
There's
but I was
also
just
an
like
in-game explanation of that kind of.
But are you? I don't know. I find that to be a little cheesy if they're like, wait till the end to explain to you why this one guy is like ridiculous.
Way stronger.
You know what?
I don't know. I find that a little cheesy. It's almost like their QA guys told them that. They're like, write something into the end so that it makes sense.
Justify.
Yeah, what were you saying, Johnny?
Well, I have a feeling that they wanted to have like a skill check wall fairly early on for you to not just blaze through, because it would be so easy to miss a ton of stuff in that first area. There's so many things, right? That I think a lot of people, if it was an easy boss, they would just like, cruise through it and keep moving into the castle and into the next area.
But he could
and
have
miss a
been
bunch of
not an
stuff.
easy boss and still easier than the next guy, which was Cake.
No, I agree with you. He is.
It was reversed. How about
a
that?
significant bump.
Yeah. Would you have felt?
It's
Would you have been
also 'cause
okay if Godric reversed with him? Like, I think I would have. That would have felt less
I think
noticeable.
that would have been okay.
From a game
as
point
well.
of view, yeah, but like, yeah, Godric is meant to be a trash. Like, he's meant to be like
Yeah,
a little runt that
true.
no one gives a shit about. Yeah.
Yeah. It was just funny. I don't know. It's just.
Abzi is deep in the lore, man. He's like,
I know
oh, no,
everything.
This
Dude.
guy's power
I could
level
tell
is-
you about Radagon
Yeah,
and
yeah.
America and the.
I can tell you about
Shattering of
America.
Elden Ring
What'd you say, America?
America?
Yeah, dude. It's it. I mean, overall, like those are the only cutscenes I remember when he was saying that. Like those cutscenes bother me. I'm pretty sure he's just talking about watching the same one over and over. But that happens in all
Maybe.
boss type of games.
And every game, really.
And I'm sure somebody. I didn't even get it out. Margaret isn't even that hard. Here we go. Here
Yeah.
we go.
Well,
Yeah.
but he's harder than Godric. Godric is easier.
That's exactly what was said, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
somebody's
yeah.
somebody's
but,
always in the
I
corner
mean,
going
some,
like
for
flexing.
some people, it was Godric was one of the harder ones. So.
Probably, and I do know when I was facing some of the bosses, one of the things that they do really well in Elden Ring, and you don't notice it right away, but if you're warned about it, or if you just pick it up, there's a lot of movement in that game that looks like threat that is not threat, and at all. Where it's almost like a dude in Batman Gotham Knights that we see where they're doing flips for no reason just to get to the bad guy, and you're like, dude, would you run here, please, so we can fight? And they're like, there's a couple bosses, not a couple, there's a lot of bosses, especially in Elden Ring, where I noticed there was a lot of fake threat. And that's good. There's nothing wrong with that. I sort of dig that, where you're like, oh, this could be dangerous. This movement here means this, but it doesn't. And you're under no threat, but it looks threatening, so therefore you panic, and it takes you a while to sort of go.
Panic roll. I
Yeah,
think,
because
dude, you're right. So I think that's what Margaret taught you very well from the get-go of the game was, okay, some enemies, because they do this a lot in Elden Ring, where they're gonna have a very slow attack where he like winds up for like a fucking half a year before he starts attacking, and then the other ones are swift. I think it teaches you that pretty.
have you guys
early
also
on, you know?
taken? So now I find myself, I don't know about you guys, I find myself not surprised by From games anymore, because every From game, if a guy has a power attack, it will never ever come when it should. So so in a normal game, power up, get to the end, attack. Never.
Either early
It's
late.
either early or late, and it's almost always late. So now every time I can just look at where he's pulling back, I watch him go all the way back once, and I'm like, 1,000 or 1, and then I'll block, and it works every time. And you're just like, dude, I don't want them to do this, because I think people would legit freak if there was a variable. Like if there was like one where it's like sometimes it's quick, sometimes people
I would
would
love that, but
I
people
would like
hate
it. That would be rough if you were
They would
like,
piss people off.
especially if there's
That
no
would be a
warning.
huge-
If there's
Especially
no,
speedrunners, dude. It's like, oh fuck, I got bad RNG.
Yeah,
oh
it's like
dude, oh yeah, you
challenge
get
runners.
RNG on the attack, like length of pullback. Yeah, it's something you pick up once you, and you'll see it in Surge. You'll see it in every Dark Souls style game where when they pull the Powerball attack, boom. It's gonna take an extra second. I absolutely know it's gonna take an extra. Also, I know 2 attacks will work, 3 attacks will not, and if you do the 3, they'll punish you. And you start to get the combo where you're like 1, 2, wait, 3, because if you go 1, 2, 3, they block you. But if you go 1, 2, 3, they
3.
don't. And it's there's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying it is cool that you can pick those up. We've got enough of these games now from every developer that now you sort of know.
You get a feel,
Variable's
don't
gonna happen, guys. Somebody's gonna be like, this game is just one boss and there are no patterns or something like that, where you're just like, what? It's like, yeah,
Just natural.
it's just
Imagine it's like-
Margit
it's
or
like
whatever,
another player.
just that character, all random, no
You
fucking.
have a range of delay on the attack.
Yeah, right. Like it's like, oh, dude, like if you choose easy, it's like
People-
1%
people
range.
will-
If you
Well, I
choose
mean,
hard,
on
it's
a-
like 100%.
On a micro level, people got pissed off because some of the bosses, let's say he doesn't attack, but you're far away enough, they'll do that attack and stop. they don't do another attack. So they see them do the same attack and go into attack,
And
but
then
because
the other
you go
one.
into attack, they keep on attacking, and
You have
people
to
hated
wait
and I was
that
like,
quarter of a second, right? To like.
and I was like, no, this makes sense. I mean,
No, I
if
like
you're not
that.
close to, I like that, but people don't, because they're like, oh, well, I don't got, like, I thought this is my time, and you know, I can't.
And
win,
even in
boss.
my videos, sometimes when I play characters where they do that, you can see me go, huh? Because I'll realize I'm going to push them to attack, and you'll see me go like, gah, gah, whoa, and I'll go back for a second and wait, and then go in because they don't. Yeah. It's very cool, man. It's awesome that these games. I mean, dude, we're playing games.
Reading as well.
Well, true, yeah, but what I was going to say is it's awesome that we have these games because I do think Elden Ring opens the door for people that like Cadiz and some of my friends who just they looked at Dark Souls and they were like, not only was it not fun, and I get that, I agree with them in that way. For them, it was definitely not fun, and I actually agree. But at the same time, they can now have a little bit of breathing room between attacks, think a little bit. Elden Ring definitely allows for people to memorize stuff after a fight, where in the past it'd be like, dude, I died, I don't even know what happened. Like, I don't know. And Neo 2 was like that, where you get into Neo 2 and be like, whoa, I'm dead. What? I don't even know what I need to do. So sometimes you would suicide. I did, at least, where I'd be like, I'm just going to suicide so I can see what he's doing. Because it's so fast. There's so many things going on. I'm just going to walk forward and watch who's doing what. I like that about Elden Ring. That now people who would never have played it and didn't like those kind of games may look at Dark Souls and go, I get it now. Like, whether they want to play it or not.
That's what happened with me. Like, I wasn't a huge fan of Dark Souls at all. I didn't like the...
What about 3?
3, I think I liked more than the other two, for sure.
That's what
I played 3 the most, but I was just there's just something about, like, let's say I reach like a swampland or something like that, you know, especially in Dark Souls 1, there's the fucking underground piece of shit area, and it's like, oh fuck. And then thinking about that, okay, when I launch the game, I have to get through this area. You know, there was always like a barrier or a thing that caused me to bounce off these games.
Yeah.
But Elden Ring is one of my favorite games of all time, and it's because, you know, fuck me, that game is, you know.
And you can explore, man. You can run away. I mean, sometimes you'd be playing Dark Souls and you're like, the only way to run away is to like run back to a guy you already ran away from, because, you know, he might be a little bit harder, because sometimes things felt uneven on purpose. But yeah, it's very cool. I'm just really happy because other companies will look at this too and go, okay, so this might be a way to get people to play our game, because I like the Surge, but I still think that the Surge at times can be nut crunching. In fact, I think the Surge is harder for me on a technical level. Well, once I started learning weapon switches, it wasn't, but there are parts of the Surge. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Surge 2 in particular, I was like, oh my God. What it is, I don't know why. I couldn't even answer why, but I think it's cool because now we'll get these other companies who might look at this and say, all right, we don't need an enemy around every corner. We can, like, a little breathing room, you know, might end up causing people to want to jump into the universe and explore that, which is very positive. Let's see. I feel like the 2 attack thing is a waste of the player's time, a cheesy way to stretch out the time it takes to beat bosses. Noah's combat has a rhythm that feels more rewarding. I think Noah's combat has the same stuff that can occasionally pop up.
It's just about being gamified versus not. I enjoyed, I liked it because it's like, okay, well, they shouldn't have the same pattern and stuff. I like it when there's variables, you know?
Yeah.
But it's to each their own. I mean, you might not like that.
Let's see. I want to love Elden Ring, but in the end, I just sort of respect it and realize I'd rather play something else. Nothing wrong with that, man, at all. Speaking of respect, let's respect everybody's time and move on. That was... we started talking about what?
Callisto,
Elden Ring, God of War.
And then we went fucking...
Callisto, God of War, Elden Ring.
Is that what we were talking about? Holy shit. Okay, what do we got, Johnny, for topics? What are some of the topics that we got?
It's
only 12.
I put them in chat here, but I did want
Thank
to...
you.
Talk
about... You asked me about White Neon as well. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah, so we'll talk about I also wanted to talk about the Steam Demo Festival.
Let's do it. Let's talk about that first.
Just because we said positive, for me, that's a huge positive. I just love demos in general, right? I'm like a a kid at the toy store.
A demo
These
machine.
demos, right?
Yeah.
These demos. Yeah.
You're at fucking
'Cause
Costco. And
I,
trying
I
out
still
all the-
remember like
Supersized peanut butter. I need it.
yeah. Because I still remember like the CDs, right? I would buy a magazine with my
Oh,
savings. I'd
yeah.
be, oh, dude.
so
and that
good.
would be like for the week. I have that with the demo, and now it's you have tons of demos. But I wanted to give a shout out to a couple games that I played. So I did a stream where I installed just a bunch of demos and played through a bunch of them, and I found a couple that were just, tiramisu level games. So let me get the names right here so I don't butcher it. So I tried a bunch of them, but the ones that really stood out to me were first one, my top one, called Nine Sols, SOLS.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
Ooh,
9 souls. Yeah, gotcha.
Nine Sols.
Mhm.
Yeah, so this is like side-scrolling 2D Metroidvania. Like,
Mhm.
so think of Ori and the Blind Forest, but you are an alien hacking cat. You're a cat, but you're also kind of an alien, and you can hack. And
Oh,
they
I
have
get it.
this-
9 lives. Okay.
Yeah, and right, and they have this Asian aesthetic to the whole thing that's just gorgeous, like hand drawn, great
Gotcha.
animations, mixed in with almost cyberpunk because of the technology, because there's alien stuff in it.
Mhm.
And so the gameplay is ace, right? So I'm playing this; it feels great. You got a
Mhm.
dash; it feels great. All the Metroidvania stuff, and the art just phenomenal. Just struck me. So that was my highlight of the Nine Souls. It has a demo. People can check it out on Steam. Coming out next year. That one's so still a little while. And then another one that I wanted to shout out here is Beneath the Orisa. And I
Beneath the
think,
Orisa.
Karak, you also shouted out this game. It's the one where it's a deck builder, but has full-on 3D animations for the attacks. Remember this?
Oh yeah, when you talked about
You ta-
Karak talked about animations and like
I
Karak
think I
talked
talked
about-
about wanting that, but I don't remember talking about this game in particular.
Because I think you talked about trying that demo, but it was like a while ago.
Must have
it was
been.
like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago or something. Yeah.
or even earlier. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, anyway.
If it's not specifically the one that you mentioned one time, it's exactly what you talked about.
What I wanted
wanting.
when one.
Yeah, because and this is great because not only do the actions map exactly to what the card says, right?
Mhm.
But the way they do it is almost like time stops. So let's say that you play a card, right? So your dude is kind of waiting for you to play the card. When you play it, he moves, hits the guy. Everything has awesome animations. And then like it kind of stops until the next thing
Wait.
happens.
Is this the one that we watched a trailer of during an event? And we saw the
Yes.
cards? That
Okay.
might be what you're
And
talking
we
about.
talked about it.
Yeah,
then.
and we were like,
Yes,
oh my
Karen,
God, that
exactly.
looks... I didn't know the name. For whatever
Yeah.
reason, that name did not trigger with me. Dude, I did not know that was a demo.
That
I'm going to have to check that
it-
out.
It's great, man.
Okay,
it's
I know what
really
you're talking
cool.
about now. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Okay.
So those are my shout outs, but we talked about Hellsinger, Metal Hellsinger. It's
Yeah, a
very
lot of
worth-
people have been talking about that.
very much worth checking out. Cult of the Lamb,
Cult of the Lamb. Yeah.
Angry
Cult of the
Foot,
Lamb's hugely popular.
Anger Foot.
Midnight Fight Express. We also saw that in one of the shows, and I played it. It's also great fun. So there's a bunch of stuff out there in the demos, and Steam has actually a good way of going by genre. And checking.
Couple as well. One was actually supposed to release yesterday, but for some reason did not, or hasn't released yet, rather. Called Aegis Descent. You can play a demo for that, which is a first-person sort of mech game shooter. That actually it looks really, really good in my opinion. There's also a game called Last Time I Saw You, which also has a demo, 2D adventure game. And there's another game called Ghost Song, which also has a pretty good demo you can play, which is sort of 2D horror, cosmic horror, science fiction. also looks really solid art style in that as well.
Now,
Really
when
good
these
looking.
demos, I talked about this last time. Do these demos come up and then go away, or they up?
No,
No,
they're
they
up
stick around.
for these
Yeah,
guys.
they're up.
Okay, gotcha.
Good.
Yeah,
They
because
should be.
they should be, and that's why I was confused when I think we last talked. Yeah, a lot of people say Cult of the Lamb is actually awesome.
It's amazing. Joe.
Yeah, it's very
It's
polished.
so good.
Oh yeah, of course, Absy played it. You were one of the ones who told me that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's very cool to see more demos come around. We're seeing it now, of course, with Xbox getting demos, PlayStation demos all the way, man. Demos all the way down.
Love it.
Yeah, it's awesome to be able to just jump in and go, is it something I
And play.
want to possibly continue playing, or do I like the art style? We're going to see that with a lot of games, especially indie games where they have weird art styles. Sometimes you may look at it and be like, this isn't for me, and then you play it and you're like, oh, it's not bad.
Yeah.
What was that game that gave us all headaches that looked like paper? You're on the boat. Oh, the Obra Dinn.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Sometimes
That's
you
a
need to play the Obra
great
Dinn.
game,
the
though.
return of the Obra Dinn.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a great puzzle game, but dude, everyone talked about the art style being amazing. I was like, fuck me. I would rather that be a normal art style. Just-
Actually, I played something that I wanted to mention to you guys because I thought the premise, the idea was really ingenious. I didn't like the game as much, but this is called Brock the Investigator, and it's a point and click. You're a crocodile humanoid that talks.
I'm
and has
interested.
Full voice acting.
I'm interested. All right.
The only thing is the dialogue is very cheesy. It's very corny, so I didn't particularly like it. But they have they call it the first punch and click, which immediately I was like, okay, I gotta see what this is, right? So you have like the normal mode where you're doing point and click stuff, and you at any point in time you can switch to action mode where you can then like punch stuff. And
Huh.
sometimes you can like
Cool.
break a glass to inspect what's inside.
Oh,
or
right. So it can push you
punch
further in the
someone.
story.
get a reaction. Yeah.
That's like
yeah,
the
so-
dichotomy of the dude being named Brock and being a
Yeah.
investigator. So it fits.
Right.
And being an
yeah.
alligator. I mean, that's also
But
quite
I
unique.
thought
True.
adding a layer to the
crocodile.
point and click was
Yeah.
ingenious.
No, that's
'cause-
awesome. It's awesome to finally
Yeah.
get it. I mean, they've tried it with everything. Thimbleweed had two characters. Well, multiple games have had two characters, but you get
Right.
everybody trying different stuff. Jetser says any info on Trepang 2? I don't think there's info, but there's a demo out there. I know I saw that pop up. Yeah, I mean, more demos. This is great. I do like the idea that they stick around. I do wish that for whatever reason they made that clear, because I wasn't the only one asking that, trying to figure out why we were doing an event for something that would stay. It's almost like saying, we're doing a concert and you're like, oh, I missed it. And they're like, oh, no, we just live here. We just play music all the time.
Yeah,
And you're
Right,
like,
I get
yeah.
what you
Well,
mean.
what the
That's what I
fuck?
thought, because I didn't have my PC for that fest.
For
and I
that
was like, fuck,
fest,
did I
yeah.
miss out on the demos.
yeah, it's an odd complaint, but just realize the complaint is simply because I want more people to engage with it. And
yeah.
it was a little bit, I was like, I even asked Reg, I'm like, I don't understand, dude. What's happening? He's like, it's more like
It's
the
almost
release
like-
day. It's like here's
You-
the big release day of these demos
Yeah.
versus anything.
You know how we
Release
have a
day and
day.
exposure for it.
Oh,
Yeah, of course, yeah. Go ahead,
It's-
Johnny.
You know how we have like Earth Appreciation Day
Yeah.
or something? That to me is always weird because like we should appreciate Earth.
The Earth
you know,
every
all
day.
the time.
Yeah.
Not just the one day.
But sometimes
in
you
the
gotta
year.
you gotta remind the freaking terrorists
sometimes-
who
yeah.
destroy land
So,
all the time.
I think this is
Quit
what it
cutting
is.
down our
It's like-
trees.
Yeah, like the demos are always there, but this is kind of a gentle reminder.
Yeah.
For you to like put something in your calendar, like, oh, hey, there's demos.
Yeah, it's very cool. Somebody else said, I think it was Wandering Dutch had said he liked Metal Hellsinger. So there's
Yeah.
that as well. Is that the one that looked all weird in its timing? Did anybody play that?
You
It
said
was
that,
like,
So,
but
This one
the
looks
rhythm
better,
looked-
and it has a
does it?
visual aid,
oh, okay, gotcha.
kind of help you
Cool.
with the clicks. The other thing they do
I
very
love
well,
Serge
Karak.
Tankian too. The vocalist from System of a Down is in
Oh
it.
yeah.
Gotcha.
The,
Oh.
the other thing they do very well is the layering, like we talked about earlier in the podcast about having the basic track and then layering.
What
on
is this
top.
game then? What is this?
Okay,
A
so this is
rhythm-based
like
shooter.
rhythm-based shooter.
Not for me.
So you have to shoot on tempo, right?
Mm.
But as you do it better, let's say like you get a streak or something, the song starts to build up. Like it gets more into it, like more layers, more full.
Mhm.
And the only problem is if you suck at it, it's gonna get boring, right? Because you're only listening to the bass tracks. You never get. Do you know what I mean?
I
If
didn't
you
think
don't
about
get
that.
streaks,
Yeah, right.
You're not even getting to the vocals, dude.
Right, I
You're
didn't think
with
about that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
That's how you can tell if a reviewer fully knows what they're doing. If all their
Yeah.
all the music moments in their game is
Watch
just
the
bass track,
journalist be like, dude, these tracks suck. Where are the vocalists?
or
Well,
I'll do it. I'll be like, now I'm going to review the audio portion, voice. There is
Yeah.
none. People will be like, ha, you're not very good. What are we going to say, Abzi?
Yeah.
At least in this one, I think opposed to BPM, which you can't ever shoot outside of the tempo, I think, unless you go into like easy mode or something. As in this one, you can, in matter in fact, shoot whenever you want and reload whenever you want. You just get extra points if you shoot on tempo.
Which is the way it should be.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's like, how are you training me? If I can only shoot on the tempo, then isn't it a game where I would just hold down the A button and wait for the tempo to pop up?
Yeah.
Where it would fire on its own. Like that's not really timing. The main character design, somebody said they don't like. Happens in a lot of games. Let's look more at some news here. Oh yeah.
Oh, and there's the white neon. You told me.
So I wanted to, yeah, we'll cover that too. I wanted to, I'm gonna have to wait for my browser to open here. So there was a couple things. First thing I want to talk about is Hogwarts. So I did not know this was a thing. If you guys look at Hogwarts if you look at Hogwarts version, their edition list, their sales, they've got one version there that, unless I'm going completely insane, sells you 72-hour early access to it. And I got to tell you guys, man, for a single player Harry Potter game to like sell you early access, that's not an MMO, which we've seen and people disliked, but we saw it with New World, right? Didn't New World do that and piss some people off? I believe.
Mass Effect Andromeda did.
There we go. So you're following in the footsteps of Mass Effect Andromeda. Congratulations. Like, what a terrible idea. I couldn't believe that, man. And I think it's 72 hours. Yeah, I think it's 72 hours. Number 5, I put it on that list.
I hate that.
Dude, it's like, of all the... I mean, I know what they're doing, right? They're taking advantage of Hogwarts fans. Like, it's not even taking it... I guess you could say Andromeda took, advantage of the few Mass Effect fans they still had. But, like, it's painful, man. When I read that, I was just like, are you kidding me? Seriously? You're gonna... For a single-player game? It's like, if it's ready, man. They have other things, like you can get the big bad wand pack or whatever, bigger cock-looking wand. You can get all these kind of things in there, but one of them, I think number 5 is 72 hours early. I fucking hate that, man. I don't know. I just find that
spoils the, there's this feeling when a game releases, right? And
Yeah.
we're all like
Pumped up.
talking about it in the Discord, right, or whatever. Like everybody's excited and experiencing it kind of at the same time. You just break that because there's a contingent now that's experiencing it 3 days prior or 4 days prior.
Yeah, it's just so weird,
not a fan.
man. It's no, either am I. And I wasn't expecting it for this game for whatever reason. Like, that was just not something that popped into my head that they would be like 72 hours early access.
I feel like it's sort of faded from use. Like there was
a little
period of
bit,
time where it was very common. Like Ubisoft used to do it all the time as well.
Yeah, the nice thing about Ubisoft, well, not nice thing, but sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So it's obvious that they sort of know what game they want to do it for, and I think we know that Hogwarts makes sense. It does make sense business-wise.
Yeah.
I mean, is there any game? I mean, you're going to make an extra $10 for nothing, because the game is obviously ready 72 hours prior, is what I mean. So you were literally just making money, for no, which. They're a business, but it sucks. I wish I hadn't seen that, because like that hits me in the feels. And I think not we all, but if you were a Harry Potter fan, maybe the movies were coming out, y'all got in line at the theater together or whatever. Or if you're a book fan back in the day, people actually lined up at the bookstore. And now it's like, well, if you pay, you can get into the bookstore early. You're just like, that's not the same. Red Wolf, $5 super chat. Do you think we will be able to get out of our cockpit and walk around the inside of our ship while it's floating in space in Starfield? Yes, we for sure can, Red Wolf. I cover it in my video. You absolutely can do that. If you can do it all the time, I'm not 100% sure, but I do know multiple times they had a get out and walk around icon that popped up, especially when you were connected to other ships. So you definitely have that ability.
Nice.
Let's see. Hogwarts. Other than that, I'm excited for it. I'm a Hogwarts fan.
Yeah.
I'm a Harry Potter fan. I want to see it. Looked a little janky, but I'm all for it. What else do we got
so
here?
let me ask you, if you're
yes.
a Harry Potter fan, which house
no.
are you?
Slytherin. What?
Slytherin.
It's not even
Yes,
a question,
sir.
my friend.
Yes, sir. You're
It's
right
not
there
even-
with me.
What?
It's not even a
you're-
question. Straight up Slith. But I'd lead it.
Jonathan,
Who the
you
fuck-
I'm no
know,
bitch.
Who's
I'm
gonna
no
be
bitch,
the,
Silver.
the sad
I'd-
fuck? Who's gonna be the sad fuck that picks Hufflepuff?
I knew you were going to say that. Well, probably the nerd like
they're
Bill
the ones who
Gates
get
who in
all-
school.
They're the ones who get all the friends. So.
Yeah, they get all the friends and suddenly, they're a multimillionaire. Who knows, right? Like we should do that. We should tier list. We should tier list the billionaires into their, like Elon Musk, Slytherin, Bill Gates, well, now Slytherin. Possibly originally we would have thought, well, maybe not Hufflepuff. He would have been Gryffindor. But anyway, so news about that. We can move on from there.
No, I think
Another
Bill
thing,
Gates would have been Ravenclaw.
the reason why I said Slytherin was because of the divorce and what came out.
Yeah. Now we would be.
That's why I was like Slytherin.
Like early. I think Ravenclaw. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then last but not least, let's talk about Microsoft and well, not Microsoft in particular. I mean, it's their game, but Halo. So I don't know if you guys saw this. Halo, they do their bulletins, and in one of the bulletins, they basically said, "Hey man, we know we got a lot of cool shit, and some people don't have the time to unlock the cool shit. So we're looking at microtransactions to help them unlock the cool shit." Now, I'll just stop right there. So what do you guys think?
What do you mean? Wait, sorry. I
So-
don't get that sentence.
Which part?
All of it.
That they're adding microtransactions to Halo?
Oh, that was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought I
Yeah.
heard something way more complicated than that. I mean,
No,
wasn't there
that's the
already
problem. It's
microtransactions?
not complicated, but the complication comes that it wasn't done. It's sort of being added in, which
Like,
in a
single
weird
player?
way, multiplayer customizations, single player, most likely if there's
Well, they already
customizations that
have
as well too.
transactions.
Well, that's what I said too, but they're talking about an actual like point system that you buy into of some kind. And like money versus points and being able to unlock it, which they don't technically right now have.
I don't know what
So-
the fuck they're doing to that franchise, man. They're fucking killing it. They're butchering it. I just do whatever they want, honestly.
I mean,
Fuck them.
dude, sometimes I wish companies would do their shit up front first, so you could sort of just like, I know it's bad. It's almost like a person saying, "Listen, let's date, but I'm fucked up." Like,
Let's date, but I
gonna
have
be rough.
psychopathic tendencies.
I may stab you in the night. And you're like, all right, I'll just, I'll wear a mesh suit when I go to bed. I've sort of got my defenses up. But this one sucks, guys, because like, not to be rude, man, they haven't delivered shit for that game. Like, if it had co-op and if it had Forge and if it had all this other stuff, that might be, but it's like,
It has.
I don't know.
I think it
They're
has
doing
some pretty unfortunate connotations to what Square Enix did with Avengers a little bit, maybe.
Square
Where you
Enix did with Avengers.
Yeah, where you have the initial release, and then I mean, there's a lot
Wait,
of attention.
Sorry,
and
somebody
focus
just corrected me on something.
Oh, that's MC. Oh, they're adding micros to MCC. Man, they should just
Thank you.
shut the fuck up and sit down, dude. Oh my god, why are they doing that?
Thank you.
Why are they
They just
ruining us?
corrected us. They just corrected us. So that's why there was some confusion on what was going on. It is to the Master Chief collection.
Yeah,
Oh.
why?
That makes even less sense, though.
That makes even less sense.
That's so stupid. Those games have been out for a while, and people love the customization in them and earning things in game. Like, that's so nonsensical. Honestly, man, it's so stupid. That pisses me off.
Do you think that they get to a point to where they're like, we are sort of done with this? And maybe like just to get extra, I mean, just like it's done. We're not doing any work or much work on it, so let's just make some extra money on it. Let's throw cosmetics in, which we do see in some MMOs.
I think
That's pissing
maybe,
off consumers more than anything.
Yeah.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe it's also that there are people who aren't happy with the progression system
As
in
is.
the Master Chief collection, because like the progression system there is tied to like season pass or whatever, where you have to build it over time and gradually sort of unlock it.
Dude,
I
haven't.
Maybe some people want the option for the shortcut. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. It's so weird because like Master Chief Collection to me, if you bring it up, it's dead to me. I don't know how any other way. And I'm not saying it's dead to me like I'm cool. I'm saying it's dead to me as in my mentally, I keep thinking of it as being a dead, that we're in Infinite now. And that is dead. It's a thing and it's not getting new stuff. Obviously, I'm wrong and it is getting new stuff. But I don't even know what you would unlock. So what? So I guess what do they have in that? Helmets, I'm assuming, like your cosmetics for.
Yeah,
for Reach, you have like whole different like armor stuff that you can customize.
Yeah,
like individual
right.
armor
Forgot
pieces
about that.
you can
Dude,
unlock.
they could have done it so well with the Infinite. They could have done it so that, okay, let's say you pay for a battle pass, but instead of stupid colors and like arm shits you get full suits, and in order to unlock things on those suits, you do those challenges. They can strike a good balance. They don't have to go one way or the other.
So you're saying like an armband would require a certain number of shots or something?
So how it did
that kind of challenge? Or?
Yeah. So for example, let's say with the battle pass, you get like a new suit, and then to unlock customizations specifically for that suit, let's say a new helmet, a new shoulder pad, whatever, you have to get like 30 headshots with pistol, do all this like cool. They could strike a good balance. They just overstep too much, man. Like they overstepped way too. You pay for a battle pass, you unlock like the color purple for a hand that you don't own on a fucking different like.
I mean,
so stupid.
What you're describing now is kind of the system that's in there now, because you earn sort of points by playing the game, and then you use those points to unlock pieces of the pass, and then you progress. Yeah, and then you progress in that sort of season pass. You progress through the different tiers of that up to the highest tiers of that pass.
Last I played, you need to beat like 10 fucking games to get like 50 experience points, which causes you to go to the next level of the battle pass.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they changed that because they were that there was some heavy feedback. I remember there was heavy feedback on that.
You can earn like a decent amount of points from doing like daily and weekly challenges. In the Master Chief Collection, like that's how I unlocked
MCC,
a lot of the armor pieces.
Yeah, I was talking about Infinite.
So real quick, I got to get this in. Doom Reaper says they've been adding seasons and they added Flood Fight Fire Knit long ago. I don't know. He starts to lose his mind, but he said they've added some stuff recently as well.
Okay.
So there is some stuff, being added. I don't
know, that franchise is dead to me. But
that franchise has some issues. I'll just say that. I don't know if I'd say it's dead, but it's definitely it used to be the masterclass product, and now it's like
when Bungie was in charge.
Well, I mean, believe what you may, but I don't believe that. But I'm just saying it used to be a master. It isn't now. It isn't treated that way, and I don't know, man. It sucks. It sucks. And speaking of Infinite, I'm glad people corrected us. So you have Master Chief, which, like I said, feels dead. Still obviously getting support, which is awesome. People are playing that. It's now adding micros. But then you do, spreading off, have Infinite, which I did see that they were inviting people to like their co-op network test to finally get that. How long's Infinite been out? 6 months? Or longer?
Over like 8 months, right?
Yeah.
8 or 9.
Right, it came out like end of last year,
7 or 8
November,
months,
December.
Yeah,
I
so it'd be
December,
nice.
Right?
It feels like a fall game. So they run together, but it's just sort of sad. There's something about it that it feels like Muhammad Ali is too old for a lot of people, but it feels like a champion who shows up. They look the same, but it's just not there. Chuck Liddell, that's a good example. Chuck Liddell used to be a monster. His very last fight, he looked identical, even looked in good shape, and then the first time he threw a punch, it was. You were like, oh no, there's going to be a murder. He will die. And he did. He got smoked.
Oh, wow.
So, it feels weird, man. And I would say this certainly if it was Mario or
at this point,
Crash Bandicoot.
I've lost interest about Halo Infinite co-op.
Well,
'Cause
add
it's
this.
been so long.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude, sorry. I see where you're
Right.
going with this. Yeah, it's been a long time. I thought you were saying Halo, and I was saying, does it feel like Halo, Call of Duty, and Battlefield are all the kings
Oh.
that are ready to be usurped? They just haven't yet.
I see.
Like, that's
No,
the way it feels to me.
To me, it's like, remember when we talked about the telltale issues with pacing between or timing between episodes,
Yeah.
where you would get one, and then maybe we would have to wait months for the
Mhm.
next one, and that's, for me, that was a huge issue. That's kind of how it feels like. If it's
You've
one
waited
thing
too
if you
long.
tell
The
me
gap is too wide.
it's too wide. Like, if you tell me, hey, we need 2 months to iron out the co-op, I'm still excited, right? Because it's still in my radar. But there's something about, like you said, like moving on, like we've seen Infinite and we've kind of moved on, that I just can't be excited in the same way about it coming out, several
I would have been
months from now.
excited. This is no lie, guys. If Infinite had Forge and co-op, I can't tell you how excited I would have been. And that's no lie. That's not. I don't.
That's maybe as big a part of it, right?
It's
the biggest.
It's the biggest
The
part. I
biggest?
don't know how to describe it other than
I've
like.
never played a Halo solo, dude, and Forge was always a core.
And Forge was, and so like, let's say you say, I had somebody try to tell me they were the biggest Halo fan in the world. They don't know there was co-op, and I'm like, then you for sure aren't the biggest Halo fan in the world. You would have known that,
Right? Yeah.
But if you remove all that and people who don't even like co-op, you look at Forge. Forge was the lifeblood of multiple things. Forge was like the ability. It's the lifeblood of blue and red, technically, or red and blue. The Halo team. It's like, and I don't mean it's the lifeblood as in it started it. I mean that's sort of like once people saw you could do that in the normal levels, then Forge allowed for people to make their own stuff and tell true stories. You have all this stuff, plus it allowed for whole new levels. And they showed up. It's like showing up at the Super Bowl without anybody on your starting team that got you there. And you're just like, hey, man, we're still good. And you're like, well, yeah, we'll see.
I would have rather the game be delayed.
I would have rather the game, yes, even to right now. I would have, because I bet you they could have fixed some graphics. Forge could have maybe had its own showcase pieces and been like, hey, here's, admittedly, I think people are like, well, then Microsoft wouldn't have done as well. I'm not going to lie. People, feel free in chat. I don't know how much of a system seller Halo Infinite was. And that's just the honest truth.
Yeah.
Because it didn't arrive as Halo Infinite. It arrived as Halo.
It didn't contain
Because it didn't
these
contain a lot of it.
things, right?
Yeah, Halo Finite. It showed up
Yeah.
as Halo Finite. So I don't know about you guys. I don't know how much is sale,
And it doesn't even run well on my PC. It stutters a lot of frame pacing issues.
We're just going to have to hope it gets better. What else do we got here? Indie games. We're going to talk with... so Absy got a chance to play... What was it that I wanted you to talk about?
Neon White.
Neon White. Go for it.
It's a great game, dude. It's a really good game. It surprised me. It's made by a no-name company called Angel Matrix. And if you try to search them, these motherfuckers are like the John Smith in the fucking Matrix. You're not going to find any info on them.
You just get
Like-
a ton of data about nothing.
Nothing. Dude, I can't find them anywhere. But for their first game, apparently, dude, this feels like an Atlas game. Like the presentation is very nice. You like everything clicks. The UX is amazing. Basically, there's like two parts of it, kind of like a
let me
Atlas
out.
game, where you can develop bonds between characters, and developing these bonds between characters
shit.
unlocks side quests for you, which are levels. So the game is basically a speed running puzzle platformer. You want to get from point A to point B as fast as you can with the tools provided. How it works is that while you're running in the level, you could jump and run. So that's basic. You can run, jump. Okay. Can't run on walls or anything, but that's like the basic movement options you have, run and jump. But then you get offered cards, and those cards are guns. And the reason why they're cards is because you pick up, let's say you pick up a pistol, okay? And that card has about 18 to 20 ammo. So you can shoot demons with that ammo. You have to kill all the demons from point A to point B. So you shoot them with that card, but when you discard that card, let's say you're discarding the pistol, you get an extra double jump. If you discard, for example, a rifle, you get a speed boot, a dash. If you discard a submachine gun, you stomp on the ground very fast, and you can like break things under you. So it's basically these handcrafted levels, kind of like how Bethesda handcrafts like 1,000 Planets. So it's like these handcrafted levels that that are just, they put cards in strategic locations, and there are shortcuts and stuff where you can, kind of surpass your timing by finding these shortcuts or jumping from point A to point B in a faster sense. So you have those, and then you can find these gifts within those levels. So there's like a exploration component in the level where you can go around and try to find these gifts, and you get those gifts and give them to like your friends in the home base. You're basically located in heaven, and you're tasked with killing those demons. So you give those gifts to your friends, you develop those bonds, dialogue opens up, memories open up, and also those side quests, which are special levels that aren't timed. There's no like time high scores, but they provide like new challenges. You know what I mean? Depending on the character. For example, there's a character that's kind of sadistic, kind of evil. So all her levels are like there's spikes everywhere and everything can kill you, while others are more somber levels. I think I'm very enjoying that game. It's very, very polished for a no-name company. I mean, it does feel like an Atlas game. The dialogue is pretty modern. It's pretty funny. I think it's a Western dev. What's up?
It's not quite no name. I mean, the main guy behind it is a guy called Ben Esposito, whose last game was Donut Country.
I have no idea.
An indie game a couple of years ago about a.
So it's the same guy who did Donut?
Yeah.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Well.
Also, he was also, I think, the main part of what remains of Edith Finch.
Okay. Cool.
And a long list of other games.
That's cool. Yeah, I just meant like for an indie game, it feels a lot like Atlas, which is a much bigger company.
Yeah.
Just the presentation is.
What was the music like?
The music is amazing, dude. Sorry, this is. I'm getting there.
But it's your chunga chunga, right?
What do you mean chunga
Like,
chunga?
I think he means like tribal beat kind of thing.
No,
Oh, you mean dubbish?
No, it's electronic, but there's there's a lot of variations. There's like dubstep-ish stuff. There's kind of like melodic techno. There's kind of like kind of dark tech stuff in there. They switch it around a lot. I really enjoy the music.
Yeah, I saw Reg was playing a bunch of it. Liked it. A couple people in the chat were playing. They liked it. Obviously, it's a good game. Did that come out to like no fanfare though? Because it seems like it announced and that was it. It was like announced and out.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's not even if you look on Steam, there's only about 1,000 reviews. I mean, it's overwhelmingly positive, but it's not a popular game. No, I don't.
And was that also on consoles, or is that just on PC?
Ooh, good question.
Because here's the thing.
No, it's on Switch.
I thought it's on Switch. All right, which that reminds me of Donut Country then, because Donut Country was on Switch with the bad control. Remember? Because I remember Reg was bitching about it. Yeah. So that's the one thing though. Like, I wonder what's going on with this guy's releases in particular. Maybe he doesn't like working with big, which is fine. Maybe he doesn't, want to do PR at all. But it feels like this was just boom, boom. It's like shown at that event. What I saw looked cool, and then it snuck up. It was like, I remember they said it was like the next Tuesday after that event, though. Like, it was fast. It was a fast turnaround on that, so it makes sense. But
yeah, it was fast.
Everybody I know likes it.
Came out.
Every single person I know.
It's a good game, dude. No matter how you put it. I mean, it's just a well-known
And wait, how much is it though?
26 Canadian, about like 23 USD. Yeah.
Okay, not bad, not bad. That seems. And you played it for like what, 8 hours? You've got
hours.
Yeah, that's
finish
that's
it. I didn't
cool.
beat it. I'm still a long way from beating it, but every level provides a new exciting challenge to overcome. And
do you have to run forward at all times?
No.
You just do because you have to make the jumps. Is that what it is? Because I don't like the infinite runner games, and that's what it looked like to me. Okay.
So there's two components of the level. One of them is you want to get from point A to point B as fast as you can.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But I like to go for like the platinum.
Yeah, right.
Whatever the fuck.
Right.
And there's another component where it's like you chill, you try to find the gifts. So you like go up
and
try to.
I heard you talking about that. Okay, gotcha. Yeah. That makes sense. Strevin is a member. Thank you for being a member of the YouTube channel. He says excited for Sunbreak next week. Yeah, Sunbreak is next week, man. A full Monster Hunter expansion is next week. We can bitch all we want about no games. Sorry, you may not want to play Sunbreak, but that's a pretty big game. I mean, I think all of us here aren't as necessarily hot on that, but it's pretty insane how many titles we're getting. I was also told nothing. I'll just say I'm waiting for this. I think fall is awesome already. October games are ridiculous. I was looking at a list: October, September, November. But if even more stuff gets announced, which is what I keep getting like fed little data bits about, then damn, man, like this is going to be one hell of a fall. I think July's our slowest. Well, it feels like June. It feels like this last month was awesome because we had events, but if the events weren't there, it would have been really dire. Does that make sense? Like it maybe just for me, but I'm like, there wouldn't have been a lot. There would have been 3 or 4 videos where I was like, all right, I'm not covering that. There's still indie games.
For huge titles, yeah.
Well, I'm even talking about like stuff. I mean, there is, well, okay, I guess I'm also thinking some of these games wouldn't have been released because the events weren't happening, now that I think about it. But yeah, I mean, Cult of God, or what is it? Cult of what? Cult of Lamb. I would have probably played. Yeah. Has Bloodborne 2 been announced on the podcast yet? Exclusive? No, it hasn't. Takedown, unfortunately.
No, only 3.
Yeah. FromSoft stated that their next game is in the final bits of development, but I don't think we've heard anything about it. People were wondering if it was Bloodborne, but I don't know.
They can dream. They can smoke that good copium all they want. It's never coming out on PC.
Copium. Oh, I gotcha. What do you got, Silver, for the indie game of the week?
I have a real-time strategy game this week. Starship Troopers Terran Command.
Oh, gotcha.
Game based on the Starship Troopers property by Robert Heinlein. Mostly on the film, actually, by Paul Verhoeven. But also brings in a couple of elements from the books as well. It's more sort of tactical RTS than it is like base building resource management. You will be tasked with guiding these small squads of Starship Troopers against the bugs. You need to sort of optimize firing lines, and because you can't just line your troops up behind each other because they need line of sight. So you need to use proper elevation, proper positioning, and so forth to optimize firing lines. You need to establish proper firing perimeters. And what's really cool about the game is that there's a sort of rhythm to it, because the bugs are going to keep coming. They come out of these hives, and these hives have different tunnels connected to them. You can't destroy the tunnels, but each tunnel has sort of a finite amount of or a temporary amount of bugs that it generates. So you need to sort of exterminate the amount of bugs that comes out of a tunnel, so that you create a lull in just the tide of bugs coming at you, so that you can get in and then destroy the hive while there's a lull in just the amount of bugs coming at you. So you have to sort of get that timing down. And trying to sort of sense when that is, as waves of bugs are really sort of just crashing on against your defenses, feels very, very Starship Troopers. It's very fun. It has a sort of tower defense aspect to it even. That's very, very appealing from a tactical aspect. It's a very fun game, I think. Audio is a little iffy, like feels a little cheap, but it plays well enough. It's a good time, and it's $25.
Speaking of audio that's iffy, though, dude, I was doing Shadowrun, the trilogy for console, and I got to tell you, man, like when you hear that iffy audio, it's so noticeable. It's so, especially as we've gotten these massive, like audio immersive moments. You have these huge games with all these different samples. Everything's really high. And I was playing that, and I cast the spell, and it was like,
the worst.
I was like, damn. Yeah, it was bad. It was bad.
Sound adds so much to the
sound. It does, man. It adds so much. I was playing that game, and then the lack of voice, because there's so much reading in that game. I was like, oh my God. And I like Shadowrun. Like imagine if it was an IP I didn't even like. I'm very much into that IP, and I was like, oh. And I did the thing where I was playing, I was like, huh? Oh, what? What? And I had to get up and walk around and come back and sit back down. It's not a good port, man. It's got a ton of technical issues. A lot of crashes, yeah. It's so funny because I saw 2 other reviews, and they gave it like an 8 or a 9. They were like crashed multiple times, and I'm like, what? Man, what's a game got to do? Like, because this game crashes your save game, by the way, meaning it doesn't autosave. So like one time I lost, like, I don't know. It wasn't huge. Well, depending on if you're dying of cancer, then 2 hours might be a long time. But I will say it wasn't a super long time. The longest was I probably lost about maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. That was a long time to me, and that happened multiple times. And there were times where, like, I would do oh my God, there was this one time where I was at the very end of a battle and I cast a spell and it did that stutter where your brain, if you've ever played PC games for a long time, something happens that warns you something bad is happening.
Yeah.
Right? And that would happen. And I did that thing where I leaned forward to hit, like, save, and there's no save button. You have to go into, like, 6 nested menus to save. And I'm like, and everything froze. And I was like,
I swear, it's so annoying because my mixed reality app will randomly launch at times in Windows, and whenever it does while in a game, it freezes the game. So I'm thinking, oh no.
Yeah. So you're like, oh, here we go. Yeah, dude. Yeah. Dude, it's too bad, man. It's too bad. Like, bad sounds in games, like, you notice it. I mean, I know some people say they don't, but for the most part, I do. And, like, bad sound
Sometimes
in
it's like
a
subconscious,
space.
where it's like they don't know why the gunplay doesn't feel good, but it's actually the sound.
For sure. Sound's a big deal for gunplay. Like, that's why a lot of times when I'll be playing with friends, they'll be like, where are you, blah, blah, blah. And I'll be like, can't you hear me? And they're like, oh, no, man, I have the sound off. And you're just like, all right, dude, I don't know what to say, man. Like, at that point, that's on you. You know, I'm not going to tell you where I am. Put your headphones on. Yeah, it was too bad. This week was a downer playing that, especially because I really like Harebrained Schemes. I think they're awesome. And I like Shadowrun. I want it to do well. I want to see a first-person shooter, guys.
Yeah,
I want to see somebody. Yes, if somebody's
better than Cyberpunk.
What if they were like
cringy ass dialogue?
What if they were like, here's why Cyberpunk didn't succeed: the lack of dragons, and they show like Shadowrun, and you know how Sega and Nintendo used to battle. This Genesis does what Nintendo.
Or it's like Mac versus PC. Like,
oh, dude, Mac versus PC was the best, man. Just nerd versus nerd. Neither one of them knowing they're a nerd. You're like, wow, this is next level. But moving on from there, let's talk. Javier says Shadowrun Dragonfall has a banging story, but it's so dated. It is. It's pretty rough. Oh, hey, before we move on, let's go to Abzy with updated games. Any big games got updates this week?
Well, not big games, but big updates for sure. We got Into the Breach with a free content update, a massive free content update called the Advanced Edition. It's free. Nearly every aspect of the game will be expanded with new content. There's new squad weapons, new pilots and pilot abilities, new enemies, bosses, missions, more challenging difficulty, new languages, new music, and more. That's a great game. I love Into the Breach. Check it out. Dead Cell's Breaking Barriers update. They added a bunch of accessibility options and assist mode. So Breaking Barriers update is basically for assist stuff for people with accessibility.
Oh, I see. Okay, gotcha. That's what I was wondering about was the name. Okay.
Yep. Weird West update 1.03 is live with bug fixes, a brand new mine locations, additional aiming system options, additional stats and loot variations. Game progression system is fully revised. Acquired weapon abilities carry out between heroes.
Here's a DLC as a patch.
Yep, which I know a lot of people were asking for. Yeah. They balanced the game economy. There's a new outpost location. The companion AI has been drastically improved. There's a new reputation tab where you can track all your friends that you've made and all your foes. And nice. It now runs at 60 FPS on the Xbox Series S.
Damn, dude.
Yeah.
Good update. And it's 1.03. It's not like a 2.0 or
no, dude, it's hilarious. Their updates have been amazing. If you've tracked what you did, but because I think that was pretty much when you first started on the podcast, as well as us talking about these games, their updates have been, dude, ridiculous, man. They're just like, here's a new game. We'll just call it 1.1. Yeah. You're like, damn. Crazy. What else?
Forza Horizon 5 got additional languages, a new Forza EV Rivals event, and now they have a co-op story in Horizon, and TAA on PC, and a bunch of stability and performance upgrades. And Raft got out of early access.
Yeah, Raft, man.
And stuff. So Raft is now a game. Great game.
It's a video game. It's now a video game.
And
Raft is now a game.
Now a video game, and that is all.
Dude, Raft, everybody's playing it. I don't know anything about it. I saw it ancient years ago, and it was nothing. Yeah. It was barely a game at that time. Like, it had a couple so again, sort of like my Dead Cells moment and a couple other games where I got in too early. So I got to check out Raft because I know a bunch of people are playing it and enjoying it. Is it a full game, Johnny? Yes. Full game? Okay.
full game now.
Not just better with friends, Johnny. Cut the
Not
bullshit,
just better
Johnny.
with friends.
It is a
I
full
like
game,
it.
right? Okay.
No,
gotcha.
no, for real. And you
Cool.
know what? It's surprising, man, because at first I was like, wait, so the main dynamic of the game is that you're hooking shit from the water
Right.
to pull in and then like grow your shitty raft
Yeah.
a little bit. But it builds so much from that. And the stuff you can build, I've seen people make like actual ships because you can build like
That's
angled.
seriously awesome.
Dude, and they're like islands with fucking snow.
You can
and,
build a
like,
city on the boat.
Really, I haven't
You
seen
can build
how
a
crazy it
village.
gets.
Like you can
Yeah.
go. You can
Like,
go big.
well, like Johnny said prior to the podcast, Waterworld, which I know isn't a popular movie. I actually liked Waterworld. I mean, it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't an Academy Award winner, but I mean, I like the idea of doing that on Raft. That's cool. I
Yeah.
like the idea of saying it's a game now because,
It's a game.
man, what I played wasn't a game, guys. What I played was less than a demo.
Yeah.
That's what I
But-
legit.
But it goes so much
That's so
further
cool.
than what they had. You get access to tech, like real tech, like there's fucking reactors and shit like that you can have.
Have you
So
played
you-
this one, Silver? Have you played Raft at all?
No, but I played a game that's somewhat similar a little bit, but not quite.
What was it called?
Stranded Deep.
Stranded Deep. That's the other one that I jumped into. Is Stranded Deep a game yet? Is Stranded Deep out of early? I don't
know
think
if that's
Stranded
out
Deep
of
is out
access.
of
I
early
don't think
access.
It is.
Yeah. See, that's the problem, man. It's so hard to
Yeah.
track these because I'm pretty sure I've got them in my brain overlapping on what I experienced. Streven, $5 super chat with a sticker of some kind of creature dropping the mic. Thank
No,
you
it's
very
still
much.
in early access. Yeah.
Stranded Deep looked good though graphically. Does this one look? Does Raft like
It's
one
a bit
1 to 10?
more
Cartoony.
Oh.
stylized, as they say. Not
okay.
not to mean that it looks like shit.
No, I get you. Stylized is
Yeah,
fine.
because
Yeah.
often people, it's stylized,
Right.
it looks like shit, right?
Yeah. Oh no,
but-
somebody will love you. You tell your kid that, and you're like, "There's
Right,
no chance
Stylized.
somebody's gonna love this
special.
kid."
24
Yeah, there's no chance.
FPS,
Yeah.
Deadly Premonition, stylized.
Oh God, 9 FPS Arc on the Xbox One, dude. If Arc is Arc
Yeah.
fully? Wait, is Arc a game? Has Arc come out? Has the original
Has
Arc
it become
come
a
out
video game?
It
as a
is,
video?
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Arc sold an expansion before it went.
Yeah,
full,
it did.
Probably.
right? Wasn't it Arc that
It
did
did.
that? I love it, man.
Yep.
They're just like, hey, man, we're not done. You want to buy the
Yeah.
expansion? You're like, nah, I'd rather get the game. But that's all right. No, so the Stranded Deep is on the PlayStation. Kulobon says it was a PS Plus game.
Cool.
Wait, and then the person above him says Stranded Deep is unplayable on PlayStation. So one's saying get this unplayable game on PlayStation. Right? Is
Nice.
apparently what we're seeing right there. What do we got for questions? Questionnaires. I did ask people to ask. Oh, and I got to check Patreon because I did ask people there to ask questions too.
Do you want to go to that first?
It'll take me a second to bring up. So if you have one, feel
I
free
can
to.
get started. So we
Yep.
have this one from Ronan PT. How do you guys feel about game mods? Do you tend to use them when available? Some of my favorite games, like Silent Hill 3 and 4, are much improved experiences with the right mods. Yeah, absolutely.
Don't tend to use mods a whole lot. In the rare instance I do, I'm less inclined to like download a mod than I am to modify it myself, to like go in.
If you had an INI file, yeah.
INI file,
Yeah.
or like use something like Cheat Engine to
Mhm.
sort of modify aspects that I would like to change. Then yeah, that's what I'm more inclined to do than like download
I love
a
mods.
mod from outside. Yeah.
I'll just
Yeah.
say
Same.
that. I love Cyberpunk 2077. Some guy added fucking flyable, air cars to
Yeah.
it just recently. He's just like, dude, mods are they're a thing. They're separate thing now. I don't even know what to call. They are their separate thing. There's like genres of mods
There are.
like there are games. So they're.
I mean, modding games is the reason why I bought a PC back in 2015.
Oh, is it?
That is
so
the
that
reason.
not to mod or to get mods or to mod.
To be able to get mods to
Yeah.
mod the game. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, when I spent like a month, I racked up to like 1,200 mods on Skyrim. Even though I didn't play it for more than 3 hours, I just had a lot of fun modding it.
Fucking nerd.
Oh, dude.
Everybody does that. Like there's got to be an illness that you can
1
like
month,
identify
dude,
as no, dude, I don't even want to tell you cuz I'm very sure it's well beyond that I've spent on Skyrim. Alone Daggerfall was when I started, and it's ridiculous how many hours you'll spend, and then when it works, you'll be like, that's like it's almost like a challenge. You're like, can I get 800 mods to work? Yes.
Once you get it,
challenge done, baby. Masterwork's all. I'm gone.
I mean, I changed Skyrim into a dark fantasy horror survival game, but
that
it's pretty
worked
cool.
probably.
It
But
worked
I get what
well.
Silver was saying, because sometimes a mod will mod something I don't want modded. So they'll be like, here's this thing. And you're like, but that's not, I don't want the entire thing modded. I just want this one thing out. So like sometimes an INI file, these days it's harder to change those because some are locked and like there's all these kind of restrictions game devs will put them on. But I definitely, I'll touch a game or two if there's a need. Yeah. Reading from the patron questions, I'm going to get all of these. What's your take on the Borderlands series? This is from Max. They're my favorite games. I'd love to hear your take on them, good or bad. So we're just going to go down the list. Silver, what is your take as a complete package, not including Tales? So the Borderlands shooters, what's your take overall as Borderlands as a series?
I liked Borderlands 1. I liked Borderlands 2. I was not that attracted to the pre-sequel or to Borderlands 3. The main issue wasn't really to do with gameplay or anything, but like the characters they presented for those games,
right,
just didn't really appeal to me.
Didn't light your fire.
Being like fun to play, or interesting to play. I mean, you could like play Claptrap in the pre-sequel, I guess. But that was probably like the most interesting. But yeah.
Okay, Johnny, what's your take overall?
Well, I've actually gone a bit more negative on it over the years. Borderlands 2, I remember as one of my favorite like gaming experiences. But I think it's a bit of what you say, the better with friends thing, because at the time I was playing with some good friends and we had like a cool vibe with it. I think that was almost 80% of it now that I think about it, because, Borderlands 3, it was a competent game, had my issues with it, but, it was perfectly fine and enjoyable. But just the level of enjoyment was so much lower than what I had in 2. And I'm convinced that it was, just because I didn't have that group dynamic that I had.
Yeah.
And so I'm a bit torn. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how much of it is like the game's merit versus just the group thing. I would say they're good games. They're solid games. How about that? They're fun, mindless games.
Two was also just sort of lightning in a bottle sort of thing.
Yes.
It was a lot better than the first one, I thought. And it was just sort of captured in the zeitgeist of the time it came out. Yeah.
Abzi?
I mean,
I just want to get everybody's take because I want to get through all these. Abzi, what are your thoughts?
Kind of fun games. Kind of a fun game with friends. Yeah. Pretty fun.
Nice. Yeah.
That's all.
Kind of fun with friends.
You just looter shooter with friends, and it's pretty fun. Yeah.
Same. Yeah. Same. AV says, what's the greatest quality of life trend in games over the last several years? Whew. What's the greatest quality of life trend? What's the greatest quality of life trend in games?
Better UX, like
but minimization of HUDs.
No,
yes.
But okay. I'm not reading. I'm thinking quality of life is like
more like inventory or something.
Yeah,
or
something like
I have one.
Go ahead.
Oh. So I've been playing, when I lost my PC, I played a bunch of random, like old retro, not retro, but like, PS2, PS3 games. I played Uncharted, I played God of War, those types of games. And old games had a lot of frustration, man. Like fucking having to push one box from one end of the room to another while like 10 people are shooting at you and shit like that. And then when you get to the end and you die, you have to repeat that whole process again. Games don't do that much anymore. Like there's not much of that fucking frustration, and people look back, it's like, well, old games used to be hard. No, that was just fucking stupid, man.
Yeah, like that was just like an added time buffer that they put in.
Yeah. So some of like that death mechanics and like having to repeat is just like absolutely frustratingly useless gameplay segments.
For some reason, when he said quality of life, I don't know why I was thinking like subtitle, like colorblind options. Or, like I guess that's what I was.
Yeah,
but
accessibility.
but I think he actually probably means more about what you guys were saying is just like what smoothed out games over the years. Smooth. I don't even
There's
know.
a lot. You know?
There's and it's like I mean
cameras, obviously.
Cameras most cameras, but I mean like I think the big thing would have been analog control on both sticks because like DualSense. Because I used to use a Dreamcast, which was use 4 buttons to control which direction, and then use the analog to aim, and then when you jump to dual analog, it's like to me that's probably the biggest quality of life, bigger than like triggers, haptic triggers or bumpers. It was like the ability to have analog on both thumbs was probably the biggest when it comes to console games. PCs always had keyboard and mouse, so it's its own.
I think maybe the biggest sort of overarching like theme that's been increased has been not just options for accessibility. I mean, you look at Last of Us 2, right? And just the range of options you have in that game, from modifying the game to whatever you want,
whatever
down
use,
to like down to like individual aspects of the difficulty of AI behavior and stuff like that, and gun behavior and all that stuff. You can basically modify yourself to a point where you're happy with it. And I think that extent of giving you that extent of options and applying it also to like accessibility and to UI and stuff, I think that's probably been the biggest quality of life, that we have more options than ever.
Chat, what are yours? And I'll read them in a second. Yeah, I would agree with that too. Kruk says, greetings from Poland. What's your favorite game soundtrack from recent years? Mine would be Songs of Conquest and Plague Tale. Thank you, lads, for making the best gaming podcast.
Songs of Conquest, that's a good one.
That's the one that you talked about last week, right?
Yeah. Favorite soundtrack? Damn, there's a lot.
He says in the last recent years, the one I keep remembering is Outer Worlds, just for the main menu.
Outer Worlds,
I mean, there's many.
Pillars of Eternity.
Pillars of Eternity.
Fucking awesome.
Silver?
I'm very fond of, very impressed with Card Sharks this year.
Near.
The way it weaves in like genuine classical pieces and then sort of does its own motifs that mirror that. I think I found to be really, really effective.
What about you, Johnny? You got any soundtracks that have made you sit up and beg for buttermilk?
I got many. I mean, Final Fantasy VII is the classic one.
Sure.
Persona 5 is one that I listen to all the time.
Yeah, both of those had good soundtracks. Oh, speaking of that, I found myself liking like almost said it. Judgments and Like a Dragon soundtracks. A little goofier for me. I mean, I like they sort of skew on the goofy, but I actually dig those. There's been I'll just say this: these last 3 years have been the best for soundtracks ever. And yes, I'm including your fans of your original Final Fantasy. That might be one game or two games. Right. I'm talking about total. I was talking to the Desperados because we're getting the Desperados 3 composer on, and we didn't get our timings exactly right. And I was like looking and listening to his stuff on Bandcamp, right? Is that what's called? SoundCloud. Bandcamp. Bandcamp is real. That's a thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a thing.
Bandcamp.
Yeah. Sorry, I always use SoundCloud, so I forget. But so I was on his Bandcamp. I was listening to that, and I was jumping to some other indie games, and I was like, God damn, man! Like the number of games with good music is well beyond the number of games with poor music. Like it's if somebody does music. Even bad games.
Anthem had a really good soundtrack.
Dude,
had an amazing soundtrack.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's like that's the part where I think we have seen. If you said what part of gaming has actually seen the greatest not increase in talent, but representation, I would probably say, even above voice acting, it is music. Like it's fantastic. Let's see. Last question from patron. Tristan says, "Hey guys, always love listening to your podcast. Keep up the hard work." My question is, can you see video games come to a point where they are being so real, being graphics will be photorealistic, AI could act flawlessly, that regulations and laws are starting to be set? Do you think consoles could achieve this, or do you believe in virtual reality has the only chance? I'm thinking he means PC virtual reality. So Dude,
I mean, we're already
we're
seeing
already
laws and regulations.
thank
We
you.
said- yeah.
And we're seeing a social dogmatic shit start to come up. Let me bring this up. We saw the Red Dead 2 guy who took all the women, the suffrage ladies, and put them on like railroad trestles and stuff, and people said it was hate speech or whatever, and he got kicked off completely off of YouTube. So there's not only internally where like you get warnings now about, you know, murder or something like that, you get all kinds of different stuff. Now you get the social dogmatic stuff that's coming over the top on games and saying you can't do that, which we've had before. We've certainly had before, but in the past, I don't think you got kicked off YouTube. Now the social stuff is making rules for the.
Before there wasn't a YouTube.
There wasn't a YouTube, yeah. And if you did, sorry, but I saw some pretty rank stuff on YouTube. I'm not saying YouTube doesn't need rules. It needed some rules. But you see that, which is 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, where you're like, yeah, he did do that, but if you're not saying, if it's in the game and you're not saying anything, like, where exactly are we? Because I'm playing a game where I'm headshotting 1,000 people in Call of Duty, and you're not banning me for that. I mean, I could have. I just saw a Max Payne gun impact trailer that I was showing Abzy yesterday. That I got to tell you guys right now, that was actually crazy because there was no cuts. It was just kill after kill, and I was like, damn, some of these look real. Like, so we're definitely getting a part where laws and rules are already, even if they're not necessarily state or federal. But on the other hand, after today, who knows? Who knows what laws will be enacted here?
Oh God.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a good question, though, man. Virtual reality will for sure have something, right? Didn't we see VR chat? One lady said that she was touched inappropriately in a VR chat and she's suing somebody or something.
Yeah.
So, in fact, I think VR chat enacted a 6-foot defense zone or something. Or maybe you've always been able to do a buffer zone in that game. Well, VR is weird. Like, if I was playing games with you guys, and when you guys came up behind me in VR, I'm saying, you came up and started whispering, like,
yeah,
I don't know.
It gets, I mean, it's pretty uncomfortable.
It's pretty uncomfortable, yeah. Like, and I'm talking, like, I'd be like, that's weird, and I'm not consistently accosted.
There's a very
day.
funny clip that happened in like Rec Room in VR with someone just approaching someone and being super, oh, can I give you a little tickle? Can I get?
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
It looks very uncomfortable.
And we're talking about cartoon Rec Room, not when things do look real, where suddenly, you know, I mean, look at Second Life, guys. If Second Life had VR full support, first person, you know, you got giant donged orcs running around, like you get some weird stuff going on. I'm sure there'll be rules or there'll be something. I don't know how indecency rules is what we have here. I don't know what the UK has, because we flip. We're more okay with violence and less okay with sex. You guys are more okay with sex, less okay with violence. Do you guys have a indecency rule? Do you guys have like indecency laws there? Like, I don't even know.
In terms of what you can wear on the street.
Well, in terms of like, there's some things that are just that are basically considered profane. I mean, like, are considered like that is not something shown. Do you guys have stuff like that?
No, not really here. Like Denmark is like really infamous for like what the amount of stuff we allow.
Yeah. That makes sense though. I mean, that makes sense more in America even. That certain places are going to have laws against that kind of stuff. I mean, we see it with Germany, you know, and Wolfenstein too. We already see.
I mean, children's television when I grew up was kind of a horror show, like really dark stuff. Some of it, like
same here, dude. We saw stuff that now when I see it as an adult, I'm like, and I'm not talking about even like sexist stuff. I'm talking about like demonic stuff where I'm like, damn, dude.
Like one of the like main animated shows that ran when I was a kid here, and it ran in much of Scandinavia, was a manga anime called I think I've talked about it before, but Silver Fang, about a bear hunting dog that was extremely violent. Like you had dogs fighting and killing each other, you had blood, geysers of blood, you had all this stuff,
and it was
like the kitty hour.
Yeah, you're just like
remember Looney Tunes?
Oh yeah, but I mean, I don't know, that sounds a little worse than Looney Tunes, but I mean, you know, they're all pretty crazy. I saw I mean Looney
Tunes, you get flattened by an anvil and you get up right after.
On the other hand,
like,
man,
there was some racist ass shit. In Looney
there were,
Tunes.
yeah, Looney Tunes was crazy. Another thing though is like I got to tell you, man. I mean, maybe I was lucky, but I never learned anything from Looney Tunes that I thought was real.
Me neither.
Never. Like you hear people worry about it, and I'm like, I get it because some people are easily. They absolutely are easily influenced. But it's like when I watch Looney Tunes, I was never like, cats all speak French for sure. You know,
Right,
just like
yeah.
there's some things where I'm just like, dude, it's a cartoon, man. I know that. I was 7 years old. I already knew that, you know, but
Even Pinky and the Brain had some crazy.
If I see a woman, my eyeballs are gonna fall out of.
yeah,
my
your
head.
eyeball, or you do the woo, woo. Remember when his heart would go? Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Yeah,
Who
that
was
was
that? That was
Tex Avery.
That was
Tom and Jerry.
also Pepe Le Pew, whatever, would
Pepe Le
also do
Pew.
that. And I think he's been kicked out of cartoons, right? Haven't they
Yeah,
like removed him from
I
cartoons?
mean, basically every episode was him sexually assaulting someone. Yeah.
It was pretty, yeah, it was pretty grotesque. I mean, I'll be honest. Reading some super chats here. We got Screwball BGN 20. I don't know what that is. Ball Gonad Nuts 20. Thank you very much. Heavy R. Favorite story in games in recent years, 2018 onwards. Oh, he's asking a question. Cheers. We'll get to that in a second. Screwball, another BGN 20. Dragon Age 2 inbox as source of new. Screwball says Dragon Age 2 inbox as a source of new quests was a very good quality of life improvement. Was there a mailbox in Dragon Age 2? Is that what he means? Like a mailbox to give you
I never played that game.
maybe I think that's what he means. Like the style of getting which is mobile, by the way. Mobile does that a lot. You'll be playing a mobile game, you'll get the email, you know, it'll be like, hey, you know, thank you,
yeah.
and you get the fake emails from them. So I'm thinking that's what he means. Favorite story in games in recent years? I mean, we've talked about this a lot of times.
Yeah, mine is Near Replicant, like the remake.
Replicant versus Nier Automata.
Well, Automata came out before 2018, but I do like Replicant
true.
story more. Yeah, I like
Really?
Replicant story more.
All right.
Yeah, just I love both of them so much, but Replicant story spoke to me a little bit.
Necro says you did get letters in a mailbox in that. So yeah, I mean that's
Okay.
a cool idea. I don't. Whoa, he said Dragon Age 2, right? I don't think I like Dragon Age 2 very much.
I only like
liked-
Dragon Age Origins.
Yeah, I liked Origins. Was there a 3? No. Dragon Age
Inquisition.
3 is Inquisition. So
There was like a 1.5, like a Dragon Age
2
Awakening or something, Ascension Awakening.
I think that was wasn't that a big expansion? Because they
Maybe,
did do a
maybe.
couple fairly sizable expansions, but yeah, I wasn't into Dragon Age
Mhm.
2. All I remember about Dragon Age 2 was how lazy it was. There weren't actually buildings, just doors in the walls. Oh, yeah, I've seen that. I know what he means. With the geometry, you can tell it's not at all, like it's not a building. It's just a wall with some textures thrown down. What else we got for questions, Johnny?
This one from Beastie by Nature. What is one game that wouldn't survive today's PC climate?
Oh boy.
Or was fun then, but now after some learning and revelation, would just not sit well today?
Bully.
We talked about Bully a lot, yeah, for sure.
Oh.
Dude, that's a good question
A good
because
question, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's more that it wouldn't sit well than it is that it wouldn't survive, because we're still getting games like Postal and whatnot.
it's just that Postal does the thing, Silver, that reminds me of Jim Carrey versus a normal comedian. Jim Carrey's so over the top that like you know it.
Right.
That's Postal, and
You
then Bully
dissociate.
is like, though admittedly Bully changed. The release is way different than what it was going to be. You were going to be a bully in Bully, like you were going to be the bad guy, and you weren't. So I don't know. I think Bully, I was more thinking the second one would be hard to do.
I mean,
It's like-
Bully also worth noting that even at the time of release, Bully did arouse controversy.
yeah. Mhm.
Even God of War, the old ones, like how you just fucked.
Oh,
random
dude, yeah,
chicks,
you're banging.
but
Manhunt.
They called him
Manhunt.
a sexist, which doesn't make sense because Kratos. Well, I could get into that, but yeah, stuff like that.
Manhunt, somebody brought up.
Manhunt.
I think Manhunt's a good example of a game that would require a special kind of PR.
Oh my God, someone said Rayplay. Jesus Christ, dude. That was never good.
Wait, wasn't that the Japanese creepy?
That's a Japanese.
Yeah.
Literally,
The one that
you have
got
to
banned, right?
rape people. Yeah, it's
So fucking stupid.
I think
There's always
I
got
can't
to be
think of
some
any.
crap developer
I'm
out there.
sorry.
No, that's all right.
I was just gonna say I can't think of any titles right
I gotta
now,
get my dog.
but I'm sure there are many where you have a female sidekick, right? So male protagonist, female sidekick, and you make all kinds of like inappropriate jokes
Right.
or
Right.
you know
Yeah,
what
I mean,
I mean,
I mean,
or like
I mean,
sexist.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest ones is Duke Nukem. who's
Duke
just
Nukem.
a dinosaur today.
Or
right?
yeah, or talk about
Like,
women as
even-
if they're objects, right? All this kind
Where
of stuff.
even at the time he was kind of a relic, but it's even more
Yeah.
so now.
Let's
Duke
see.
Nukem.
Carmageddon, somebody said. Do you guys think Carmageddon? Oh, Carmageddon, man. See, I'll say this. I was thinking sexual stuff, some gunplay, but because of the school shootings and stuff, and because of people using cars as weapons, I could see those kind of games having a very difficult time. Depending, because didn't one of the shooters have a nightclub level that got recently pulled? Like, I thought that they did a nightclub level where you go in and shoot I thought it was the GTFO, or maybe it's the other one that's like
that was
rips off SWAT.
Ready
Ready or not. Yeah, they had some back and forth about that too. So anything that mimics real life, yeah, I can definitely see. Carmageddon, especially when people are using vehicles.
Even GTA, like I don't know
But
what they're gonna
that's-
do.
I mean, stuff that mirrors real life has always, because that's always been the most controversial. Like
Yep.
having military games set in real world conflicts, like actual conflicts, that's going to be controversial by its very nature.
Yep.
Spec Ops: The Line.
Especially if that conflict, even like historical conflicts, if that conflict is still sort of subject to controversy today, making a game about it.
I mean, Homefront Revolution removed Chinese and replaced them with North
Yeah.
Koreans. Yeah. I when it comes to not being able to be done though, yeah, I mean, I'm sure I can't think of any. I'm sure there absolutely are some though that where like it's just too hot of a topic, and then you have to look at like just real quick. You have to look at like what somebody's aiming for, because sometimes it feels like somebody's just aiming for that as a hot topic, and it's not really content. It's like, hey,
right.
we're going to be
Yeah.
edgy, and then other times
Definitely.
people are like, dude, it just sort of was the wrong time. Like that's why I don't like going into the past and removing stuff, because it's like,
Yeah.
you're saying, oh, this person, it's in their game. Let's say there's a level in 1980 and we're removing it now because of what's happened now. You're just like, dude, what? Like, that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Do you remember the big outrage game from a couple of years ago? Hatred, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, I was gonna say Hatred. Yeah.
I remember talking about it, but I, for some reason, thought that never came out. Did Hatred
It
come
did.
out?
I
Yeah,
bought
yeah,
it and
it did.
refunded it because for me, even like I was like, okay, this is stupid. You just go around killing innocents and
That's all it is.
kind of. I mean, cops come after you, but I mean, I just didn't. I was like, yeah, I refunded it.
I mean, the big thing today is that in a lot of ways it's easier to release a video game than it's ever has been, because the production pipeline is more democratized, or whatever you want to call
Right.
it. Like, you're no longer
Agreed.
necessarily required to shop your game to a major publisher to get it published and get it out there
Yeah.
and sell it.
Yeah, and easier to look good too, which I do think that is what's happening. Where, so like when it was a fat little pudgy Phantasy Star character, when you do something bad to them and they're like, squeak, squeak, oh, this hurts. You're like, they don't look like a person. And then suddenly you start getting, characters, which goes back to his question of like VR and all that kind of stuff. When you start getting that realistic looking stuff, now you start to be like, man, where do you draw the line on what you're going to be able to show and stuff? And I don't know. People are smarter than me. That's the thing, is everybody thinks, like, I'm fully aware that I don't know. Like, when it comes to that, I would need studies in front of me for weeks, years, months to study. And then I don't even know if I'd believe the studies, because especially somebody who's been involved in many, and I used to have to sit there and look over studies, I can tell you, a lot of times studies, they're just not, they're not the complete picture, man. They're not even close to the complete picture. So you never quite know. And it's going to get easier, man. It's going to get, dude, AI can almost write code for you now. It's ridiculous. Imagine what's going to happen in a year when you can say, I want a game where I can shoot a gun, and the game's like, boop, boop, boop. And then you're like, I want this, I want that. And pretty soon you got people getting there. That's another thing too. Whatever they do in their behind closed doors, we say is okay. We know that's not true. Like, that's absolutely not true. We say it's not true, but then we also come to that as like, what are people doing that you don't know about? You know, do you want to control them? Which I don't believe. But I guess the closest I had in recent memories was Persona 5 and its handling of some topics. Oh, not in Persona 5. Look at what's the game? The maids, the Yakuza. You know, Yakuza does some questionable shit. Wasn't it Judgment with the teacher?
Man, all Japanese games do a lot.
But all Japanese is not what I'm talking about. The big ones.
Right.
We're talking about they get allowed.
Persona 5 had the student
Persona 5. Thank you. It was Persona 5. And then
Japanese devs have or Japanese creators have a little you know, they can get away with a lot.
Yeah.
Oh
It's
my
almost like,
goodness.
you know, different racist stuff. Some people say it's okay for somebody to say this because they're this. If you're fat, you can say you're fat, whatever.
I mean, dude,
It's
they
funny,
have a lot of little girls doing sexual shit.
Yeah. I remember Persona and Judgment. Judgment does have something one time where I was like, it's a little questionable. Yakuza for sure in the past has.
And I see Marco A bringing up Metal Gear Solid. That would be if Kojima would be ripped for being sexist today. Like, he was ripped for being sexist even at the time.
With Quiet,
like
Whisper, Quiet, Silent, whatever name is.
With Quiet, but even
for
before Quiet, with even like Sniper Wolf. Sort of
but
really,
I think
really
what we're saying
sexualized,
is things have changed and people have pushed their foot down.
And Eva in Metal Gear Solid 3, and then you had like the really disturbing stuff was the like the female killer squad in Metal Gear Solid 4, like who were basically bosses throughout the game.
But I think everybody knows that, Silver. What we're talking about is right now with people asserting more dominance, would it be worse?
They were even at the
because they were even at the time, is what you're saying.
I think he would. It would face probably even more pushback now than it did even at the time. But it did even at the time.
Where you are, do you guys get any restrictions on games like
No.
like swastikas in Wolfenstein?
And back in the Middle East when I was in Saudi Arabia, they'd have multiple versions of a game that has nudity. For example, Witcher 3 had a version where every woman had a bra.
Yes. Oh my God. That's not the only game that's done the women have bra. Yeah.
Right. Call of Duty 4, like the first Modern Warfare, the original Modern Warfare. When it came out, it was like banned in Saudi Arabia because it was like all about killing Arabs or something. But you could still get it. Like, I had friends that had game stores and I was like, yo, pass me the game. Whatever. Like, I still got my hands on them, but yeah, a lot of that stuff was banned. Yeah.
There was also Giant Citizen Kabuto, where it was quite controversial that Delphi was topless.
Yep, I remember that. That's so long ago. And what's his? Of course, the shooter, Duke Nukem, had the chicks with pasties. Who were in the and you could watch the O.J. Simpson truck driving down the road if you went and sat down at the bar.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man.
It's weird though. Like, look. This is very weird because a lot of, you know, progressive people or women or whatever, they always, if a girl wants to do whatever she wants with her body and be sexualized, let her do that. Let her fucking. But then when it comes to games and when they depict women in that sense in any way, it's like, oh shit, this is bad now. Because like it's like a male fantasy or something. So it's a weird line to tread where it's like, oh, do we have all the women be prudes because that's what you want, or all the women sexualized because that's what you're pushing for now, or, you know?
Well, I mean, and the thing is, it's going to take, one of the problems is it's going to take years for anything to like sort of soften up, and where like there's some kind of not black and white where it's like, do you want this to, where it's just going to be like, oh, that person was trying to just tell a story and they did this thing. Oh, this, for example, if I told a story about a chick, a dominatrix or whatever, somebody be like, that's woke or whatever. It's like, no, that was the story. I just thought that was,
that's
for example, one of the
being slutty.
There's a really good fantasy series, if people want to know what I'm talking about, called the Sword of Truth by Terry Goodkind. It's not great, I should say. It's an okay series, but it's about 12 novels long, and that was 10, 15 years ago when he wrote that. Now, because of the way the females are, he got some shit. I remember some shit back then, but now it would be even more so, and it would be on both sides. So it'd be difficult to see. I just wanted to make sure I got the novel name out. But yeah, I don't know, man. That's a good point. I think also when we look at games and the realism, especially VR, man, that's going to be your triggering point, because that's where all the tech is going. VR, AR, how can you handle realism? Do you want it to be real? I have one of those vests that go bo, 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 when you get shot, and I got to tell you, it's a little weird. Like, I don't know how to describe it. I don't mind it, but it's almost surreal. Like your brain is just for a second is like, oh no, it's just the vest.
Yeah.
It's very hard to describe until you put one on and you play a shooting game. It's almost like, I guess, if somebody came up behind you and scared you while you were inside of a haunted house. What else do we have for questions?
This one from Poke Poke, with only around 8 million people downloading Diablo Immortal and only 24 million USD in revenue. Do you think Blizzard will understand that it's not what people want from them, or will they try to do more similar projects?
Is that considered low? Because it was a mobile title that got a PC shit port, right?
I think it's low because,
okay.
I mean, the mobile market is so gigantic in Asia, especially, but also other countries.
And it got delayed in China. Did you know that?
True.
Diablo got delayed in China. The one
Yeah.
place where like they were thinking the Chinese market would like go out and save them. I don't know.
I don't think they're dumb, dude. I think they do know that people don't like microtransactions.
Yeah, right. That's a good point. Like they're not dumb. They do know, but they're
dude. It's a big ass company. They have researchers. People pretend like, oh, Blizzard's so stupid. They don't listen to anyone. They fucking know everything, dude.
Yeah,
they know everything.
But I don't know, guys, because like you can play the game for free, right? Like it's kind of like no, Abzi, come on, be serious with me. This is like Lost Ark. Okay, let's be real.
Not really though.
Isn't
it's
it?
not like Lost Ark. No,
it is. I have a friend that has played dozens of hours and he hasn't paid a single
Here's the
cent.
difference, Johnny. I totally think that you're right in that he can play, but the difference between Lost Ark and that is Lost Ark has continually new content and new mechanisms throughout all of that, and Diablo has a couple, and it stretches out within those couple mechanisms.
Well,
and the number of things Lost Ark has it's not really fair to compare Diablo to it. I don't think it's fair, as in it would get its ass. It's just not. It's almost like a boxer and an MMA guy, and if you say anything goes, pretty good chance the MMA guy is going to scoop that dude if he gets a chance.
But also,
I haven't played. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, no, I get you. I get your drift, though. I get your.
Also, in Lost Ark, you can earn a lot of like most of the shit in game, or all of it in game, if you spend the time doing so. But in Immortal, there's literally just.
But I think what Johnny was saying was that like people are. Well, what were you saying? Do you think then that they they didn't know, or no? It's all right.
I'm saying that the average Joe doesn't want to play PvP and get maxed out in the game. The average Joe wants to play the campaign, have a fun, casual time with PvE content.
Yeah,
and they're great. They're fine with 60 hours of free content, or whatever it is. I don't know how many hours. I would fall under that camp in that game. I'm not interested in PvP or anything. So the argument that to get maxed out you need to pay $100,000, that doesn't apply to almost anyone that I know.
Well, it's not just that, Johnny. It's also the how they present it. Like, imagine you finish a dungeon and they present you with like, oh, hey, pay $2 or $5 for this extra stuff, right?
That I had an issue with.
Yeah.
The fact that it's way more in your face. Definitely agree with that.
Eternal says something that is funny because like it's completely opposite of what I've definitely now had sort of proven to me. But problem is, suits and ties don't necessarily play games or spend time around core games. So I think the devs know, but those over them go with the trending fads. If you notice in your comment though, you actually remove the fact of knowledge and you state go with the trending fads. You don't actually answer if the bigwigs know. They do know. They all know. It's not just devs who know. It's not just, they all know. They absolutely know. And the reason why we know this is because multiple CEOs have left gaming and stated they know. They do know. They're not, they know.
They're not dumb.
Right? No, they're not dumb. And you know how this is proven, man? When I was doing the podcast with Maddie, we were laughing because he was talking about NBA that one time, NBA 2K. And he was like, he just had covered one of them, and he was playing golf, and one of his friends' little brothers was on the phone calling his dad saying, can I borrow $200 on the credit card? And his dad said, why? And he said, I want to buy some NBA 2K stuff. And Maddie's like, do you even know who you're standing on the court? I'm attacking those games left and right. And he's like, what? And he has no clue. My nephew, who's still in his mid-20s now, almost 30, lives in a different world than me when it comes to these. Like, he knows because I bitch, but his thought process completely separate. The expectations, understandings, and ability to soak up that kind of content, completely different. In almost alien compared to mine. So what we see is stupid. They know it's stupid. What they're trying to do is figure out if they can get enough from what they're doing, even though it is stupid. I know they know that. They're just like, can we still squeeze it? Which happens.
Yeah.
Like, that's sort of business. Yeah. Can we squeeze
if it
this?
Still works.
Yeah.
I mean...
Yeah. What else do we got?
So we actually have 3 more questions.
Let's do them.
We can do maybe lightning round.
Yeah,
see
let's
if
do
we
it.
Get to them all because we're running out.
Let's
of time.
do lightning.
Baseball gear. How do you stay determined to finish a game from start to finish? I tend to start a lot of games, but always fall off and never finish them. The only true method I have found is to finish games, is to binge them.
Yeah, don't care.
You don't care?
No. If I'm reviewing the game, I do. Otherwise, I'll stop when I want to stop.
Just organic, like...
No game's going to have control of me. Jesus Christ, man. If it was that easy.
If I stopped enjoying a game, I'd stop. I don't.
And if you enjoy it, you'll play it past, like, I'll start back over again on a single player game. A game that people would be like
3 times. But...
Yeah, exactly. Right. What about you, Silver? Real quick. Lightning round. Are you the same way? You just like you play it if you continue to play it? Or do you feel forced at times?
I don't really feel forced anymore. Not really, no.
Oh, yeah, because you had said it changed over time, right? You were one of the people who had said as you gotten older, it's changed. Things have slightly changed for you. Or is that Reg? Somebody had stated that.
Too.
You
I'm
too.
The same way.
I mean, it has definitely changed. Like, especially because just the volume of games I play now is just so much bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Than
a lot of offerings, right?
So by necessity, I no longer feel that compulsion to finish it if just for the sake of finishing it, as it were.
What else we got, Johnny? Oh, unless you have an answer, Johnny. Did you answer?
No, not up. For me, it's just to quote Brandon Sanderson, journey over destination. It's all about the journey, not the ending.
Yeah.
Usually, I'm often disappointed by endings anyway from games. So it's what I remember is the journey and not the ending.
Absolutely. Unless it's Mass Effect 3 and then fuck everybody.
And then you remember it because it sucked.
What else we got?
That was a good answer.
Okay, so next up, Ric Flair ND says, what's your view on this Project Moorcraft thing? I gather it's a demo, like sections of work in progress, a game that will be available on Game Pass subs with money going towards the devs. Work on the full project. On the face of it, I like it. Anything. Yeah, Moorcraft.
It's the demo system that Microsoft is working on.
Oh.
I don't really have any. I mean, it's demos.
Okay.
I'm not going to worry too much about the behind the scenes. Yeah, it's the idea that they'll have demos just like PlayStation's now got demos. Everybody's going to want demos. You can't let the competition be the only ones with demos.
Let's get a crack. Let's try
Steam's going to do demos. Let's get Epic to do demos, right? This is where, guys, we may have at times we may have a shit fest of problems with the industry. One cool thing is you see one of these companies do something and the other ones are like, uh-oh, we gotta fix it. Look at PlayStation now, man. I mean, look at all the stuff Microsoft has forced PlayStation to do. You're in a better shape because of it. So, for those things, not everything. What else do we got? What other question?
Last question for today. Should there be a higher standard for games? Sorry, this is from Shadow. Should there be a higher standard for games that are subscription-based for playing online compared to games that are one-time buy? World of Warcraft, Guild Wars 2 as an example. Does this also apply to games as a service?
No, because everybody's idea is different, right?
Yeah,
of what the expectation
Your idea of value is...
Yeah. Plus, a subscription game, you're buying into the idea that it's a game as a service, so it's always going to continuously give you patches and updates.
I don't know about you guys. I mean, I do believe in coddling consumers a little bit, but at some point I'm like, listen, man, if you're not doing your due diligence, I'm not going to sit there and like hound over you. So it's
Don't
like, and
pre-order games, watch reviews.
don't pre-order games, don't buy 72 hours early access in Hogwarts. But at the same time, also, if you do like a shit game, and I'll tease you about it because I'll think it's shit or whatever, I'm not going to hate you for it or whatever. It would just be like, all right, we disagree on that, and you just move on. Some people take this way too serious, and then it's like, oh, I can't talk to you, man. You backed up this mobile company. It's like, I'm not that into it. You know, there's things that matter more. It's a good question, though, but there's nobody's ideas. We would all have different ideas. Imagine all three of us just trying to figure out one idea for a shooter. Like, or if we were all like, what's your minimum you want from a shooter? I bet you all four of us would have, not drastically, because we've talked too much, but there would be some outlier shit that we would have to argue over for a long time just for one thing in a game. So, is that it for questions?
Like, can the shooters be waifus? Karak would be no.
Oh God!
No.
Yeah,
Get
no.
away from yeah.
Is that it for questions?
That's it.
All right, and that'll be it for us. Thank you everybody for watching. We went a little long, even without Reg. It's just the way we are. I appreciate all you guys showing up. You very much rock. If you get a chance, check out the channel's stuff. You should see some more videos from me. Check out the Patreon because you should, and because it's awesome. Thank you to these guys for showing up as always to the podcast. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. Whatever you're doing. Oh, speaking of doing, Johnny, what are you doing this weekend?
Streaming tomorrow, 2 p.m. UK time. Probably gonna be playing some League of Legends. Actually.
Oh my God!
Some people have been asking for a stream of that.
Why were people asking for
I just said I wasn't going to tease people for long about games. They mentions League of Legends. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm just joking. No, that's
so
cool.
good. It's so good. It is very...
Hey,
you either like it or hate it.
You've got your money out of that game times a billion. Even if you spent like 5,000 on that game, I bet you still got, if you look at hours wise and time spent, you've still
like
made the money. It's ridiculous. And that's another thing people forget.
Journey, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you see, and it's something you enjoy. Who gives a shit, right? Anyway, that's it for us. Thank you, everybody, for watching. I hope you guys have an awesome weekend. Peace out.